because there's the lag on the stream and what happens.
It's like
And now it's live. That's gonna be the first thing everyone sees. Yeah.
I literally don't know what's going on.
Well, that's this show in a nutshell. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Costog Questions. This is our Q&A stream. This one's gonna be a absolute wild one. I mean,
nightmare.
Yeah, I don't know how else to put it. That's just how this thing's going today.
Welcome to Clown Hour.
Yeah, so Jack Harufu, thank you for that Twitch Prime 4 months. I see you have found the new thing that we have.
Oh my god, I gotta resubscribe. Are you fucking kidding me?
Oh my god.
I forgot.
Perthelona, thank you so much for that tier 1 sub. So I guess before we dig into anything here, you keen-eyed amongst us might notice that we have our new emotes, and they are live, and they are wonderful.
Yay!
They're so cute.
Mine are not relevant to any of the things that we talk about. No one's surprised.
They're relevant to things that get talked about, just not relevant to things that should be talked about.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have a total of 5 new emotes, and they're exciting and fun and new. God, let me see if I can.
You're good.
I'm always here for the dick.
Whoa. Oh. God, why can't I see my channel to emotes? I've got a plugin for Twitch, and it's kind of like messing with my channel emotes right now, but whatever.
I hate how Amazon doesn't auto. I forgot.
All right, well, before we talk about that, let's just kind of give the rundown of this stuff, and then we'll get into those emotes again in just a hot second. So this is Costog Questions. This is our Q&A stream.
Look at Jin's dog. She's adorable.
Yes,
her name's Chloe.
Spam those doggo emotes, because we got that.
Look at her.
If you have them. Your dog just looks like she's just like.
He's like, please give me the.
Can I not? Can I just not? So for the first hour of this show, we will be digging deep into some topics that we've kind of pre-set up for the stream. We'll take a short break, and then after that, for the second hour of this show, we will be answering your questions from chat. As always, greatly encourage chat to give your opinion along with us as we go. So feel free to answer questions, and kind of, if there's specific questions in the topics we're talking about, feel free to ask them, and we'll kind of dig into those. But keep in mind, we're not really going to get to that like specific chat Q&A portion until the second half of the show. With that said, we have both Jin and Joe joining us for this show.
Oh shit!
Oh man, this is gonna be crazy.
It's about to be Clown Hour. Get ready.
It's already
Clown Hour.
Yeah.
We literally have the Joker in our chat right now, so I don't know.
Oh, God.
We do not expose him in this house.
So this is gonna be a bit of a crazy episode. So Jin is a cosplayer from the Philippines, and then Joe is a cosplayer from New York. So we got that.
Narnia, not the Philippines, but
I mean the North Pole, wherever you want to call it. God damn it.
Fine.
So exciting to have both of you guys on. You guys want to? Joe, you were on recently, so people probably, if they've been watching, they should know you by now. But
don't know why I keep getting invited back.
But Jin, you haven't been on for a hot minute here, so why don't you tell the people about yourself a little bit?
Oh God, I wasn't prepared for this part.
Get ready.
That's fine.
Well, I've been around for a while, and I do like cosplay guestings around the world, I guess.
You sure?
Really bad.
You sure do. That is not a guess. That is a yes. So,
like, don't humble brag me in this house. Be real.
Yeah. We all have seen the Death Note set and the Bleach sets on DeviantArt and the featured page. We know. Exposing my life. fine.
And if you ever want to see
Okay.
anything wildly impressive from Jin, you have to see Jin back in the day hiding so much hair under a wig cap.
Oh,
that's
he is legendary.
Impressive. I remember the first time I watched that, I was like, excuse me?
I was like, this should not be
Hair?
possible.
The
It's literally
water
like
full of hair.
it's like Rapunzel
Yeah.
status, you guys. This is no joke. It's fucking wild.
I can't even begin to relate to that.
Sorry, Andrew.
One day, Andrew. One
One
day,
day.
I don't-
modern medicine solves everything.
Yeah, I'm not holding out hopes for that one, so it's fine. It's fine. So Joe, you were on recently, but why don't you just let people know who you are and what you're about as well?
Oh, baby, what a treat. My name is Joe. You've seen me. I'm probably the clowniest. But outside of that, New Yorker based out of cosplay. What a fucking treat that was. I'm a cosplayer.
Wow.
I'm a New Yorker first, cosplayer second. Where's my pizza? Where's my coffee? Anyways, I'm a cosplayer based out of New York City. Just recently attended Anime New York City. So if you saw me there, hello, hi, welcome again. And just really kind of being known as just your regular brown dude, just out here doing things.
Oh my god. Jesus.
What an intro. I didn't introduce myself as Korean this time, so that's an improvement.
I
Was
guess
that
we're
a thing?
moving up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go back to the last stream. It happened.
Oh my god.
Speaking of the last stream, let's hope to God my internet plays nice this time.
That's true. That's
I make no promises. My internet seems to go in spurts where it'll go like a week and a half being perfect, and then I'll spend like a couple days throwing a temper tantrum, and then it'll be perfect for like another week and a half. So knowing me, it probably is going to be shitty again today, but I really hope not. But
it'd be like that. So
yeah, I'm not
fine.
counting on it. I'll just put it that way.
Good.
So, as you guys have seen, we've got these awesome new emotes in chat. So, we've got 4 new basic emotes that we added. So, besides your standard Dutch angle emote, we now have we've got a bunch. What is going on, Joe? Oh man, I typed it wrong.
I'm just impressed. There's a Dutch angle emo.
Did you
What?
not
How do you
notice?
not know? What? We used it when you were on the stream.
I don't know. I don't pay attention to a lot.
Jesus
Life happens
Christ,
fast.
Joe.
Oh my god.
Okay. That's funny.
Continue.
So we've got a couple
Andrew's
ones.
like, I'm over you fucking children.
Yeah. So this is the perfect situation for these Vontog emotes.
I can't even use these emotes because I gotta resubscribe because Amazon's a bitch.
That should
Annoying.
take like 2 seconds, Sarah.
We need a
I'm going right
nitpick
now.
down emote.
You
Yeah,
are not the first person to recommend that.
If we had a bunch of slots, we would go crazy. But unfortunately, affiliates only have a total of 5 slots that they can use. So
fuck do I do this here?
so does someone want to teach Sarah how to use Twitch? So on top of the Dutch angle emotes, we now have a love emote, a ugh emote for face palming, one of Sarah reading some spicy boys love, and then one of Sarah snugging a doggo.
It's a corgi.
Yeah, which is something that ends up having like a frequent reaction on this stream. And then on top of that, if at the $10 a month slot, which I expect no one to go into, but you never know, we have the Bob Ross emote. With me as Bob Ross. So if you're feeling like ponying up to get that sick Bob Ross emote, it's there for you. But yeah, we've got all these new emotes. We're still like, if people still want to help out with that, we still are taking donations towards them because it was, cost money to do this. But yeah, if you don't have the financial ability for that, just subs, all the subs that have happened in the past bit have been going towards these emote goal as well. That's why we're able to get this done. Partholona says you're not eligible for the upgrade. I don't know why the hell that's the case. That's weird as heck.
That's weird.
I don't know why that's happening.
Maybe try refreshing. Twitch was weird because it was showing me something. It was like showing me like Andrew's like wrong title screen for some reason. So I would just refresh. Twitch might just be being weird right now. So
yeah, who the fuck knows?
Who the hell knows?
But okay, it's about time we do this Q&A thing, don't you guys say? Okay.
Yes. Let's do it.
I don't know why it's letting me do my one fucking love emote. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. Twitch is being weird. So
Well,
let's just jump into this and we'll ignore that for now. So we've got a couple questions, topics that we're gonna dig into here over the first hour, which is going to start as of right now. Let me get that going here. 60 minutes. 1 hour start. I don't remember if I have the timer display for this. I don't think I do. So the first question we're going to dig into is, what changes do you want to see in the cosplay community? So keeping this real broad so that we can really talk about whatever comes to your mind or whatever you think is worth talking about. Does anyone have anything that jumps right off the bat that they want to, off the top of mind, that they want to dig into?
we can talk about the positive things first.
Okay, yeah, I mean,
That have
sure.
changed.
Yeah, so
Because this is gonna get spicy. Well, for me, it's
So, Sarah, because we had two questions, we have the one that's kind of the changes over the years, and then this one's what changes do we want to see? Yeah. So we'll get to that. Don't worry, we'll get there.
Oh my god. Never mind, I won't go first. I'm distracted by this doggo.
If you guys don't have anything right away, I do have something that I would love to have change in the community.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing that comes to my mind when I think about this is social media and how much social media has shaped and transformed the entirety of cosplay and the convention community as a whole. And I think it started off being a fairly positive experience, but it is, I feel like, gone into being a more, like, I don't know if it's more negative than positive, but it's probably around a wash at this point, where like there's so much positive that it still can do and still does do. But there's so much bullshit attached to it now. The biggest thing for me here is that, like, so much of the positive things that social media used to be able to do for the cosplay community is so much more accessible than it used to be. Because, I think, look back at like early Instagram, early Facebook, and how the use cases for cosplay on those social media platforms at that time were, and pretty much everyone was able to see your stuff. Like, if you posted a cosplay, it was, your friends would see it. It was very easy to be discovered. And maybe that attributed to a little bit of, like, quote unquote, like, false fandom or, popularity. But I also think it genuinely allowed people to like see other people's work more and removed the need to get quote unquote popular on social media platforms. Because right now, like, the biggest barrier is, like, if anyone posts a specific thing on a social media platform, like, how much percentage of people sees that post? Like, what is it, like 5% or less of your followers see that post? And that's just so frustrating and kind of feels like it's, all these people that want to see what you're doing, want to see all the things you're sharing, it and kind of removes that. And we've been tied to these platforms that are essentially want to use us for monetization purposes. And it just kind of drives me crazy. And I wish we had like an easy and or good way to remove like cosplay and cosplay photography from social media at large, and like have it exist on its own platform that was removed from this idea of like yeah, you know, if you share something, people actually see it, you know, if kind of remove it a little bit from that popularity contest. And I think that theoretically could be a thing if there were a good platform for this. But like, I feel like all the cosplay and cosplay photography sites that exist kind of suck.
I kind of want to jump off of that because I feel
ahead.
like the fact
lot to
that
dive
reach
in
is so bad, like it also maybe has like contributed to the fact that it's become very competitive.
Oh,
to
totally.
me, which I really can't stand. Because it's always about like, I don't want to make this a blanket statement because it's really not a blanket statement. I think it's just, I think a good chunk of the work that I was seeing like what year is it, 2019, so like in 2018 it was just like a big boost in like, I gotta like cosplay this meme first and I gotta be the first one to do this, even though this game literally dropped like 30 seconds ago, and it's like first, and like I get it because like some people this is like their way of living and it is how they're bringing in money to their household, but at the same time I feel like what cosplay used to be about has been lost in the idea of being competitive all the time. Like
totally.
Even though I think we're all competitive on the internet, to be honest, to some degree, like we feel pressured to post things. Like I feel pressure every day to post something, and I've luckily been trying to like tone that down. Like, if I don't have anything interesting to post, I just don't post it, and I just don't care. But I definitely was in the mindset in like 2018 and into early 2019 that I was like, I gotta post all the time. I gotta be relevant. I gotta like post things that people care about or what I think they care about, or like, oh, like Persona 4 is really popular right now, so I gotta only put. I mean, Persona 5. Wow, Persona 4. That was like way too long ago. Persona 5 is really popular, so I gotta post about Persona 5. But I personally don't care about Persona 5, so it's kind of like, you know, it's that competitive nature of like, I gotta be first. I gotta be the one who's posting it, like within the first, like, I don't know, 100 people that posted on the internet.
Totally.
I think it's kind of sad because, you know, cosplay to me when I first started was all about like, I get to dress up and be my favorite character and like show my dedication to this series and to this character that I really like. Either I relate to or I just really like their design. I think they're cool looking. I don't know, but I feel like a lot of that passion has been lost because of social media. It's such a double-edged sword. Like, it's great, but it's also so toxic, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's very funny that you mentioned that, because it's like I'm fully like part of like the older cosplayer crowd, because there is like a very strong divide generationally where you'll see it is younger cosplayers and then the crowd that like literally grew up on DeviantArt. Like, it's very funny, but that crowd fully exists. And so like we've fully grown from where cosplay was a passion project. And so it's like anything that we did, like we fully loved the characters. We fully loved the designs. We didn't care how old the series was. We were going to do it regardless. And so now like you literally see like any new anime, like literally pops up. Everybody wants to hop on board. And like I've given myself a rule, like I have to wait 1 year after an anime like airs to see if I even remember the name of the anime or the character, even to see if I even want to cosplay them.
Yeah, I've given myself the same rule. I'm kind of like, well, I care about this character or this series in X amount of time. So I usually am like, I'm usually able to gauge if like, am I going to care about this series in 6 months? And if I'm not, then it's not worth my time. And that's helped a lot. Yeah.
And so it's just like Sarah was saying, like how a lot of people have made this their careers, but like just as much, there's still that pressure just because as we've seen cosplay become more of a career for some people. People feel the need to play catch up with those professionals in the industry.
That's a good point.
And it's just like, no, some of us purely love this as a hobby. Like, we're not trying to make money. It's like, I'm one example. Like, I go about it at my own pace.
Well, I think the other problem is like people are measuring success by what they see on the internet.
Yeah.
And there's this false idea that like you are successful as a cosplayer if you achieve X, Y, and Z, whether it's like, I got 3,000 retweets, or I got like, I've reached that 15,000 follower goal on Instagram, or like, I got my Patreon set up. Like it's a hobby that was supposed to be fun and kind of like you kind of do whatever the fuck you want is all of a sudden like has all these rules. Like they're not defined anywhere. This is just for me, this is just me just out of like pure observation of who I follow on everywhere. It's sad because your worth is not measured by fucking digital numbers from people you don't know.
Yeah, no, totally. There's so much there to dig into, and I think it's hard because there's no, on Instagram, there's no separator for like, oh, this is an account of a professional cosplayer. This is an account of someone who cosplays like, a couple times a year. So you're all being measured by the same metrics, quote unquote, at least on the platform. And it's hard not to judge yourself based on the metrics those platforms use. Even though you shouldn't be, comparing yourself necessarily to those people, it's hard, it's human nature to compare yourself in terms of those things. And when the platform's giving you those exact metrics to compare yourself, like, oh, my did like this. And,
it's like, oh, my post did X, like this percentage worse than my previous post. Like it's so bad, you guys. I can't wait for Instagram to implement the like, we're not going to show like count likes or whatever. Or like counts. Wow, that was not English.
Man,
English happens fast. But like, I think my favorite example, it's like something that's very strongly paralleled is just like in any industry, because it's like you'll have these like professional photographers who have literally no social media reach, but they are probably like some of the best people in the field. But like just because like they don't have 10K followers, like people in the public, I don't know them, but in the industry, they will be well known.
They're known.
Yeah. And so it's just like, but because cosplay is still like, there's no private industry. It's like, if you're in the know, if you're in the convention scene, you'll know who it is. But because cosplay has become such a public eye thing now, kind of thanks to like, what I always say is like Drag Race kind of brought up subcultures in the public eye. Which I fully always believe, because they were like, oh my God, people are transforming. This is cool. Let's watch it from a distance, but never participate. And so that's why we have like this problem where it's just like, oh, like, look at all these looks people are doing. But at the same time, if like you walk in a room and nobody knows who you are, that's kind of like very awkwardly like, oh, that's different.
I definitely also think that as a photographer who doesn't do any sort of cosplaying, social media has always been a bit of a, if like I took the metrics at face value, it was always kind of discouraging in a way.
Oh, they're fucking terrible.
Because like as a photographer, my reach and quote unquote like counts is always going to be smaller than cosplayers. That's just how it is. And you can, no matter how much you push for it, you're like, even if you're like one of the best like cosplay photographers, you're going to be at the same level as like I don't want to get into the like ranking levels of things, but just for the sake of this analogy, top of the game, a cosplay photographer is only going to be, in terms of likes, is only going to probably be at like a middle level cosplayer, if not even lower than that. And that's just kind of how it's been. And it makes it hard and weird, and you kind of like, I think as humans, it's hard to remove that metric. Like we know, even if we know we shouldn't be judging ourselves based on that, like it's hard. It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to like actually remove that feeling from ourselves.
I do want to say though, it is possible. Like I've brought this up on stream before, where like, last year I was in this mindset where like I gotta like, or even like a couple, like 2017 to like early 2019, I was like, I gotta like do all these things that I don't really care about because I'm trying to like keep my online presence like important, whatever. I don't. It was fucking stupid. And at the end of the day, it was dumb. It's not dumb. For me, it was dumb. For me personally, it was dumb. And for my mental state, it was dumb. But once you kind of like learn, or once you identify like maybe like what harm social media is doing to you, and then figuring out a solution to that problem, it really helps. So like something I've started doing is, I said this earlier, like I just post whenever I want. Before, I would post like every day at the same time. Like, even if it was a repeat, I was like, I gotta be posting every single freaking day because people need to see my feed. And I would have stuff in my Instagram stories like all the time. Like, I would have like those stupid question things all the time because I was like, I gotta make sure people know that I'm active on here.
Yeah.
And then when I was like, this is freaking miserable. I hate this. Like, this is causing me so much stress for something that's supposed to be like fun for me.
Exactly.
So once I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna post whatever I want. I'm gonna post all my private shoots. I'm gonna post selfies. I don't care about a grid, even though right now I'm doing a grid, but whatever. That's for my own sick satisfaction.
Yeah, same,
to be honest.
same.
To be honest.
I switched to a grid because
it just makes me happy.
Yeah, it makes me happy. I'm
just
that
anal when it
OCD
comes to that
level.
shit.
Yeah.
But like, you know, like on the weekends, I'm sure you guys have noticed this, I don't really use Instagram at all. I don't really browse it. I don't post. I sure as hell don't post anything. Like, I just ignore it on the weekend, and it's just has helped a lot. And now it's back to being fun. Like, I like Instagram. I enjoy Instagram, and even though I still mentally will be like, oh, why is this set of photos that I'm posting like getting less interaction than this other, you know, set of photos or whatever. I'm like, well, whatever. I'm not going to take it personally because it's not a personal thing. It's just a whole bunch of other shit that we don't understand that's behind the scenes of like Instagram and their algorithms and their dev team and their product team and blah, 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 blah. Which I have a soft spot for because I'm a product designer. But anyway.
Yeah. I mean... So,
Jen, do you want to say anything? We're just talking.
Yeah.
We're literally just talking.
You've been like hesitating and opening your mouth. Baby.
I'm like, I don't know. I guess you guys have covered some of what I've been feeling, like coming from the DeviantArt generation.
We old as fuck, y'all, except for Joe.
Yeah.
So.
I'm old on the inside, but
Well, if you're old, then I'm dead on the inside.
When it started, there was like nothing you could gain from cosplay apart from just freaking having fun dressing up and doing dumb stuff with your friends. And like, might be weird, like coming from me, because I am grateful for the opportunities I've had because of cosplay, but also like I hope that well, I've been observing that people are getting into cosplay to like to be able to profit of it, which is like a weird thought. Like trying to catch up with whatever's hyped up so that they could cosplay it and they could sell prints of it. And it just seems like really disingenuous, I guess. And like I know everyone's got their own reason for cosplaying, but I miss being part of that community that just welcomed me. Like I remember in my first event, it was just such a small community that when they saw me as a new face, you know, I was no one, and they were like, "Oh, you're new." So like, are you enjoying the con? Do you know that there's another one coming up if you enjoy this? And that's what kept me going for a long time. And that's what, you know, led me to meet some of the best people in my life. And to think that like the heart of the community could be dying out because of, you know, people wanting clout and profit from this hobby just kind of makes me sad.
Yeah.
It's sad. I miss I was telling someone like the other day, it's like kind of a joke, but not really, but it's like I would sacrifice like all of the things that have been made more accessible for the old feeling of what the community felt like. Like I love that we have, you know, non-sketchy wig sellers, and that we have access to high density foam, and that we have all these tutorials on YouTube and Twitter, and people are being like so helpful about sharing their resources. But literally I would be okay going back to fucking Elmer's gluing my foam to coat it if that meant like the, as you said, Jen, the heart of the cosplay community was back to what it was, because it does feel very disingenuous. Again, I don't want it's again, these are not blanket statements, you guys. I know these opinions can be perceived as that, but as a whole, the community is very different, and I think it's hard for younger cosplayers, especially, to understand that, because like if I was How old was I when I first started cosplay? Fuck, I don't know. I was like 19 when I really started going into it. Like, if I was a 19-year-old now trying to jump into cosplay, God,
I don't think
I
that sounds
think
like a nightmare.
no. Like, I have enough self-esteem issues now. I can't imagine being a 19-year-old and thinking that I need to like profit off of my body. Basically, I don't know. I mean, like I said, you can do whatever you want, but like, I think the community adds on the pressure of like, this is what you need to do in order to be successful in something that is supposed to be fun. And actually, Mallow brought up a really good point.
I was just about to bring that up too.
Where'd it go? She said, social media won't make you successful, period. That's why I don't even blah, blah, blah. And she said, it's not Instagram's job to get my shit out there. It's mine. And I also want to follow up with a comment that Ara had. It's too far up. Basically, they said that Instagram was getting rid of the number of likes that you have on each post, but that's going in turn hurt small businesses because small businesses depend on the likes because the likes are what bring in the money, etc.
I don't think my quick thought on the likes thing. I don't think that's going to benefit anyone. I really don't. I don't think Instagram gives a shit about how it makes anyone feel. I think they're trying to figure out different ways that they can continue to profit. Facebook has only proven that they are a absolutely morally bankrupt company. So anything that they do that has a feel good sense to it, I am highly, highly skeptical of.
I think regardless of of what we think Instagram's intentions are, because obviously it's about money for them. At the end of the day, it's their product and they're here to make money. They don't give a fuck about us. Anyway, I do believe not seeing likes though will help people mentally, because I really think like not for some reason, literally the idea of seeing a number just go up and up and up and up is so ingrained into our bodies to for some reason deliver some kind of like satisfaction when
give you that nice dopamine.
That dopamine, yeah, exactly. It's like that nice hit, but it like that literally does not determine your worth or your success.
All of this, I think, continues to go off of like my initial thought here is I wish there was some sort of platform that was literally for cosplay and cosplay photography that could replace this. I feel like the problem is that we could be there if we wanted to, but everyone is so tied to the platforms that we're on that like it's almost like being held captive in a way. Like I think probably most people would actively agree that you know, having a different platform that would be free of all these problems that come with like Instagram, Facebook, and the like would be lovely, but they're easy and they're there and everyone's using them, so no one's about to
social media is
shit.
a drug. People just cannot go a day without it. So
yeah, because there are tons of different apps. Like there's like the amino apps like that are used around the world. The cosplay amino. There's in Japan. There's Cospo even.
The Cospo,
that's even slowly breaching into the States. But the thing is, like, even in Japan, even though they have Cospo, a dedicated app, like half of them still use Twitter. Like, you know, they're still like on these public platforms, like on either one of the big main three. And like, it's so inherent, it's so ingrained because that's where the majority of the reach is going to be. And so that's where users like purely dedicate themselves to be. Also, shout out to the dog barking in the background. But
I was wondering.
Where is it coming?
I don't know.
I was wondering who's
my place. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Somebody is gonna literally call it out in the chat. So I was like, let me call it out.
I was wondering who's that was coming from. I'm like, it's not mine. That's the only one I know for sure.
And I think it's like also very funny that like Mala mentioned that, because it's like it's also why I've been like notoriously known as like the king of not really being on social media, is because I really want to focus my energies for the most part really in real life. Like it's funny because it's like I won't have a strong following, but like people will like, I'm at a con and I'm being bombarded by people and they're like, who is this man? And I'm just like, I don't know. At this point, I don't even consider myself like a cosplayer. I'm like a con socialite at this point, and that's how I like because it's like I don't like I cosplay.
You're
like
not wrong.
But like people know who I am when I walk in a room, and it's just like no, I just like, prefer...
well when you look like Joeshmoe,
I look like nobody, but
When you're wearing that deep V titty out, it's gonna be like that.
But it's like because it's like for me, it's kind of like that feeling that we had back in the day where like you felt welcomed by a community. You know, like it's like at the end of the day, back in the day, it was just like, oh my God, we're just a bunch of nerds. Let the nerds talk to the nerds. And now it is like an entirely different crowd where it's just like it's a mix of nerds, you know, wannabe models. I'm not trying to shame anybody, but like sometimes
No, it's
that's
true.
what it is.
Oh, totally.
And then it's like clout chasers, and it's just like you don't know who's genuinely in this community to be in the community, or
Yeah.
they're just here to see for like another like and another follower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like the social media aspect, maybe that's probably, well, it is so huge in the community in general. But is there any other maybe non-social media based changes that you guys wish would happen in the community? That would.
I had gal hoodies. Get them out. Take them out.
Oh,
Take
did you
the
see
whole
that
Gal
con?
outfit.
Wait, did you see that? Wait, did you see that con that's banning them?
Yes. Shout out
Good.
to Skinny Barras on Twitter. My friend Tony, she started that and she got it to a con's face. What a
Bless her
tweet.
soul.
I love Tony. But it's like yeah, because it's like it's I don't even like I think this is like also like how cons have grown over the years, because I could not imagine in any way, shape, or form back in the day an Ahegao outfit would have been even
hell no.
appropriate. And so it's just because people are looking for like attention in some way, shape,
Exactly.
or form, that they're just like, what's the best way? A whole outfit with women with their tongues out and eyes looking upward. It's like insane to me, because I could not walk out of the house looking like that.
Question: is this a
Go.
thing in the Philippines?
It is.
Oh,
Like,
God damn
it
it.
has reached here.
Nightmare.
damn it! I was like, maybe it's just America being
Ah.
trash.
Because I think China has heard of the trend and they've started making it, and so they're trickling into here.
Oh, I'm
And,
sorry.
Yeah.
It's such
mistake.
a nightmare. And it's like, it's so bad, because it's like back in the day, it's like anything that was 18 plus was strictly reserved in those night panels. You saw nothing. They were doing shibari, they were watching hentai behind closed doors.
I hate you.
Like everything happened behind closed doors. But it was never in the public face. It was never in daytime. Like it was never like where kids are around, or even in the
Right.
public eye.
Minors.
Yeah, which is like absolutely insane for people to even like casually walk around. And they're like, no, sometimes they're couple outfits. It's like, no, they're garbage outfits. Take them out. Like, we don't need them. Like, they're not promoting anything good in the scene. And
This
it's
is
like
This is how bad it is. So on Thursday of Otakon, I met up with Shea Photo Riley, and we weren't even at the fucking convention center. I'm literally at the lobby of her hotel waiting for her to come downstairs, and she comes down and we're talking for like 30 seconds. I think literally the elevator opens up and there's 6 of them wearing Ahegao
Jesus.
onesies. Not shirts,
Oh no.
onesies. Full body onesies. So we saw 6, and then we saw 4 on the way to the con. So on a Thursday, we saw 10 Ahegao people before even hitting the convention center. It's a problem.
It's
Walking
insane.
in downtown DC, okay?
That's insane.
Well,
That's insane.
It was a lot. I was traumatized. I was like, I'm over this weekend. I'm canceling all my shoots because I'm traumatized.
if there's any solace, I do think
Is this
that
our
that-
generation's version of the paddles?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
I would trade it for the
Yes.
yaoi paddle.
Oh
No.
God,
Give me
no,
the yaoi
no,
paddle.
no! The yaoi
Give me-
paddle's way worse. I'm sorry.
I would rather get a
It's
yaoi paddle
physical
or
pain.
glomp.
Yeah.
But whatever. I would way rather have the paddle than see some fucking like Ahegao is not. It's not even just a porn shirt. It's beyond that. It's so degrading and disgusting.
Oh, I don't disagree with what you're saying.
Rather have a paddle that says yaoi in Comic Sans. Like, just give it to me already.
It's not the paddle's problem isn't that it's a paddle that it exists. The problem with the yaoi paddle is that it was a
which I never saw or experienced. Thank God.
How did you?
Have you ever got globbed? Have you ever
Oh,
got
can I
globbed?
tell you about my first glopping experience?
Please.
It was awful.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is why I hate Homestuck, FYI. So my first also, are there people so young in the chat that they don't know what glomping is? Whatever, anyway. So
Moving on.
I literally was in Artist Alley at Anime Boston. I was dressed as stocking in her default outfit. This is from Panty and Stocking. So I'm wearing all black. We know where this is going. And I'm at the end of one aisle, and from the other end of the aisle, I just hear someone scream, "Stocking!" And this bitch straight up just sprints down the aisle and literally tackles me to the ground, full gray paint. Like, and this is like when Homestuck like first started, so like people didn't know about like proper body paint.
Body paint.
It was all over me.
Oh no.
I would hate it.
I literally
So
was
much.
like, and I didn't know what Homestuck was at the time. Like, and neither did any of the people like in my group that I was with. Like, we had no idea what it was, even though there was like so much of it there that year. And then finally, I like brought it up when I went back to school, and someone was like, "Oh yeah, that's definitely from Homestuck." And I was like, "Well, I fucking hate Homestuck." So that's it was the only glomping story it's the only time it's ever happened.
So sorry.
Yeah, me too.
That's the
me
worst one.
fucking too. So anyway.
Yeah, but yaoi paddles were not great. It's just
Well, neither is getting attacked by a Homestuck.
no,
So
that's all. They're
A Homestuck.
yeah.
a Homestuck. It was really I'm sorry to everyone in chat who's a Homestuck, but that really traumatized me.
You're
So
talking to an ex-Homestuck.
I know I am.
So I want to loop back to this topic a little bit later, but for now, I think we kind of delved pretty. There's so much more we can talk about in this topic, but I kind of want to move on so we don't spend forever in this one.
Yeah.
Let's show our age, Andrew. Let's show our age.
You are like literally not even one to talk.
Yeah. So let's move on to this next topic we have here, which is how has cosplay impacted or shaped your personal identity? Things like body image, gender, self-confidence, life goals, etc. This one is coming straight from the amazing Ara Lee. Thank you, Ara.
We should talk to Joe.
Joe, yeah, Joe has a lot to say, I feel, on this. So how about Joe? Why don't you start us off here?
Funnily enough, I actually goodbye, Sarah. No, she's back.
Wait, what?
You disappeared for like a hot second. Anyway,
that was just for you.
It's me disassociating. It's fine.
Honestly. So actually, funnily enough, I actually held a panel on this called "Finding Yourself: How Cosplaying like helps form identities" over at Anime NYC this past weekend. And so it's just because like for a lot of people, like for me growing up, you know, I was kind of like the one and only like nerd of my friend group. And I never had like anybody else to like I highly related to. And the way that I got into cons was just purely because like my one other friend was just like, "Hey Joe, come to a convention. You know, you love anime. I love anime. We're watching 3-parters on YouTube. Let's go." And it's like, okay, cool. And so I never like back in the day, for me, you know, like just quick background, I'm like cisgendered, bisexual male, you know, like but I didn't even know that until after I started like cosplaying, which is like hilarious. Like I even say that because it's like I went to a con and, you know, like I was like, no, I'm confident in who I am. But because what cons allowed me to do was really sort of play with like all the Criollas in the box. You know, I was able to experiment in different ways than like I would have never thought, because could you imagine me just normal 9 to 5, going to the gym, coming home, watching Netflix? Like you don't get a lot of, let's say, like worldly experience or like really trying things outside of your comfort zone. Whereas with cosplay, like you're literally, what you're doing is dressing up, and you know, you're allowing yourself to embody one of your fictional characters. And sometimes that fictional characters can embody other traits that you don't normally have, or traits that you do have that you don't strongly present to the world. Like for me personally, like a lot of characters that I resonate with, even though like I go to the gym 5 times a week, I literally relate strongly to Kuranosuke from Kurage Hime. Like I strongly relate to Fire Emblem from Tiger and Bunny. I like relate to all of these characters that really have a feminine touch to them, just because it was like I never, like growing up, like I'm also like half Latino, so a lot of things and like Latin cultures or anything that's sort of derived from Latin cultures is this like concept of like machismo, where it's like the man is the man is the like center of the household, the man drinks beer, the man strong arms everything, and like the woman is there, you know, like it's like stuff like that. So it's just like having that background, I was like, oh, I guess this is how I'm supposed to be. And so when I really let myself explore my identity through just dressing up as characters, and then even going so far as to really gender bend some characters that were, you know, originally like female, into more of a male design for something that I would feel more comfortable in. Like even then, it allowed myself to really become more into myself. And like the only reason why you see somebody before you who's so confident, who really doesn't care about like their public perception in the eye, is just because I've been cosplaying for so long. And with all of these characters that have been laid about, like it's helped form who I am. And it's like it's funny because these stories don't, like I'm only one example of a story, and I'm an example of a story of a man. I've heard stories of people who are female assigned at birth who now identify as non-binary, people who have found themselves through, you know, just cross-playing as male characters, and now they're transgendered males. And that's, I think it's such an impressive part about cosplay, is that if they never cosplayed, they never would have found themselves more comfortable in another representation of a gender. And they wouldn't have ever found out that they would have been like, you know what, I don't think how I was assigned at birth, how I am currently, doesn't suit who I am and how I feel in my body. And even for people who are non-binary or like finding out that they're gender fluid, like it helps them sort of navigate this space. And I think another, I can talk about this on and on for days, but another thing that I also really love is that
We're just gonna
within
have
the
you do your panel
cosplay-
here. Just we're gonna leave.
Bye,
It's
bye.
just gonna be you.
You're being really eloquent about it.
Yeah,
so
I'm just
I love
disappearing.
it.
you speak for us.
Yeah.
Just
and so
Joe
I think
can go now.
another-
I've left.
Another wonderful thing about the cosplay community is that it's so inclusive. You know, like I have friends who like are all over the spectrum, all over multiple, you know, genders, across multiple sexualities. And at the end of the day, because we're all cosplayers, because we're all nerds, you know, we found our tribe in a sense. We found people who love us like unconditionally, will welcome us with open arms. You know, we will accept anything. You use they, them pronouns, cool. That's how I know you as now. And if I ever mess that up, I'm so sorry. Because another thing to think about is that a lot of people, how we found ourselves in the cosplay community is because in a sense, we were kind of an outcast of a more normative society. And when I say normative, it is normative in any way, shape, or form, whether it is a heteronormative society, whether it is more of a normative society where it's like, hey, we're going to watch football, soccer, and like hockey on TV.
I love
Do you
sports
like that?
ball.
And you're like, yeah, I love sports ball, literally. And it's like, I don't do that. But it's like, what I thoroughly love to do and like talk about with like friends. It's like, you know, the random things, what animes airing this season, simple things like that. And so I think that's one of the secret pleasures of this community that I hope that never leaves ever. Because it's the one thing that keeps bringing me back. And it's just this wonderful, inclusive, you know, it's an open discovery, because the sad thing is in our society, it's very hard for people to be themselves at home. So for them to have a space where they're allowed to freely be themselves without judgment, like, so be it. And I like cosplay has like opened my eyes to so much. People literally ask me like, hey Joe, why do you dress up as fictional characters, you know, like every like other 2 months? And I'm like, because it's literally helped shape who I am. And I have to give credit where it's due.
Well, now that Joe's finished and we're all like,
yeah, see,
well,
like even in the chat right now, like I'm
just
like
dead
watching
south.
everybody come
No.
through, and it's like literally like I think Jack is even like the perfect example of this, where like I think it was like Jack's first like CCE, and even he has the courage in this chat to literally say like, hey, I figured out I was pan at CCE. You know, like and that was his first con that he was able to, if I remember off the top of my head, like, you know, party, talk, really socialize with other people. And so he was able to figure out a part of himself that he never would have found otherwise. And it's like, it's that power of this community that like is so strong, because for a lot of people, like, I think another like added factor, I always tell people, like, if I wasn't a cosplayer, I swear to God, I probably would have been a drag queen. But here's the
Oh
fun
my
fact,
God,
because
please.
I swear
you
to
be
God, I
both?
tell people
Yeah.
I could be both.
yeah, I was gonna
I've
say,
done both,
why
but, like,
limit yourself, Joe?
This is literally not a debate.
yeah, but the thing that always holds me back is because, like, sadly in like the gay community, there's a lot of And so just because of that, like it's always hard for me to feel comfortable in a space that is, like just purely like encapsulated by just gay males. Because it's like, oh, you also like women? And it's like, yeah, I like everything in between too. And it's like, nah, he's not a gay. And you're like, okay, cool, bye. So so because cosplay is that sort of community where you have that transformative aspect, you are able to be who you want to be, transform to who you want to be, and really talk to anybody out there. You all have a baseline interest. Like it's anime and the sky is the limit. Like you can find anything and everything under the sun over there. And it's beautiful.
I don't think I have anything to add.
I was like, I can't really.
Yeah, I think Joe, you said it all so wonderfully that I'm just like I'm just nodding in agreement. I'm just like, yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
What? No.
I also feel like it's hard because I haven't, like, as a straight white male, I don't have a lot of those. I haven't had those experiences or needed to have those experiences. So I feel like I don't have a lot to add in that way. So it's just so awesome to hear and understand these things.
Yeah, and Andrew, I think to your point, like even though you are a male and like more comfortable in your own sexuality, like even like I think of like people like you who are allies who help even sort of help, I don't even know the words. I don't know English anymore. Is it pervasive? I don't know.
You're perfect.
Where it's like where you help sort of build that foundation where it is a welcoming community, even if you're not part of on a queer spectrum. Like I can even think of the amount of times I have talked to Neil about random things, and Neil is a very comfortable man. He is cisgendered. He is purely heterosexual. He is not looking at anything. But I have talked to him about things time and time again, and he's just like, yeah, like he like.
Oh my god, I hate you.
And just so like, and so just like having that attitude where it's like, like it's totally fine. Like how you say it's like at the end of the day, I'm an ally. You live your life. I'm going to live mine. As long as you're happy, you're happy. Like just having somebody else be there to be like, no, what you're doing is totally fine. You're not doing anything that's wrong. You're not doing anything that's like absolutely crazy or out of the norm. Like you're fine who you are. That in itself means so much more to anybody who's on the spectrum than anything else.
Well, wait, what was the full question again?
Don't even remember.
I didn't know if it was only talking about like. I mean, I guess personal identity can be.
Yeah, it's cosplay and personal identity, whatever that happens to mean to you.
Well, so what I was gonna say is, even though I said I wasn't gonna follow up, oh well.
Follow it up.
Yeah, is I also cannot relate to anything that Joe just said, but I think, and I don't, Andrew, like I don't want you to peg yourself for thinking that because you're a cis white, like you're a male, like you don't, like if you just because you don't have similar experiences to what Joe is talking about or anyone else in the community doesn't invalidate how being in this community has made us stronger.
Totally. Yeah.
In a way, because because like I said, I can't relate to any of that, but I do say like. I tell this to everyone and no one fucking believes me, but like if you were to meet high school me or like even like early college me versus the me now, like they are literally not the same person. Like,
I was gonna ask, like, because you have a pretty strong personality now. Like, was this a product of being into cosplay, or were you always like that?
No, in high school I was the I hate high school me. Like just thinking about it, it makes me mad. Like I was everything that I hate about society today. Like I just did what people did. So if someone was like, the next thing in fashion is like North Face and UGG boots, and I was like, okay, well then I gotta get that too. Like I literally just followed what other people did, and I never stood up for myself. I was, I would say like. I mean, from 6th to 8th grade, I was bullied the entire time. So all of middle school was just me getting bullied, getting shit on for years. And then that in turn made me in high school very like timid and like shy. And I didn't like talking to people, and it was hard to trust people. But cosplay has allowed me to has helped me get over that. like cosplay is it's funny because I feel like my past self would be like, why the fuck are you doing this? Is like everything you hate. Like, because whether you're in for this for like fun or clout or whatever, at the end of the day, like as a cosplayer and as a photographer, you're the center of attention. Like you are in the middle of a stage and those lights are on you, whether you like it or not. Like that's what it is. And that thought of that to pass me is mortifying. Like that literally, like just thinking about it, I'm like, my past self would have had like a mental breakdown probably at the thought of like putting myself online and having people like it and comment on it and like talk to people I don't know and I don't even know what they look like, and like that just sounds like so traumatizing. But now it's really helped me become more confident in myself. I mean, I still have my own issues, but it has definitely helped me like recognize like the things that I am like self-awareness about myself, basically, like in terms of like why do I have these like self-confidence issues, and like kind of again like trying to identifying, I'm really big, as you can tell, identifying what the issue is and then trying to find a solution to the issue, whether that be like trying to put myself out there more. So like that's honestly like one of the reasons I got into photography, was that I felt like I wasn't getting enough out of being just a cosplayer, and I was sticking around like literally the same group of like, I don't know, 5 people, and it wasn't enough for me. Like I saw that I could do more, but the idea of talking to people I've never communicated with mortified me. So my thinking was like, oh, if I start doing photography, then that forces me to talk to people I don't know. I mean, that's how I met Joe. I literally met Joe because he showed up to one of my clients' shoots. And he just started like, I was like, "Can you please help me?"
Help, man.
And now we're like this. So, like,
yeah,
it's great. Like it's so funny, but like oh god, past me was fucking gross. It's embarrassing to think about. It's the complete opposite.
I think a lot of people have that. I feel like I have that for past me, but like in a very different way, because past
you would be appalled at past me. I'm not even kidding.
No, I don't doubt it. I like, so the reason why I always try to not be annoyed by like early high school kids at cons is because I know
we were there.
That was me. That was past me. Yeah. I was like the hyper level nerd, like just over the top weeb when I was in high school. So like I get it for a totally different reason. To kind of loop it all back together, convention scene has been so helpful for me just because like it's been an inclusive place, like for like just the fandom, because anime and its acceptance level in the US at least has changed dramatically over the past decade or so. When I was going to high school, watching anime was something that, like, if you were admitting it to watching it, you were going to be made fun of for it.
You were
like,
shunned for life.
Absolutely, we were like gremlins in the basement, and it was that bad.
Yeah.
And being able to like go to a place where there were so many people that enjoyed the same thing and thought about it in similar ways to you was so freeing and amazing. Like it was astounding to me that the first con that I went to just blew my mind, because like I was a sophomore in high school, I think, and this would have been 2005. Oh shit, dating myself. And
we're 55, you guys.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard because like
50.
It's hard because like so much of the stuff we take for granted in like just normal everyday like anime convention scene, like that, like all the things that you could get at a con, like just merch wise, like random stuff that you'd buy at a con, like that wasn't a thing that you could just like go on the internet and buy. Like you couldn't get all that stuff. Like you didn't have access to all these people to talk anime with. I remember getting a bunch of people's who I made their acquaintance. I was getting their AOL Instant Messenger screen names so we could continue to talk after the con. Oh yeah. But like that was for me a huge way as to how it's kind of shaped me and kind of allowed me to accept, not that I was never accepting of the nerd that I am, but it allowed me to find a place in society that was also accepting of that nerdiness. And in a weird way, the culture has shifted overall. Not to say that it's totally accepted in society, but it is so much more than it has ever been.
Yes.
And I wouldn't be surprised if conventions and just having this ability to connect with so many people has helped, because we've realized, oh, hey, like there's a lot of us. This isn't as weird as we thought. Like we aren't these weird people. Like lots of people enjoy this shit. And that's why it's kind of, you know, it's not perfect. There's still a lot of stigmas behind stuff but the walls are starting to crumble there, I think.
Yeah, and I think what cons also do, you know, like as Andrew's mentioning, is just like it makes it normative to be like, hey, it's fine to like anime. It is fine. Like even though in your daily life, like a lot of people you cannot walk up to and be like, you saw the new Shokugeki episode. Not a lot of people are receptive to that. But at a con, like you can do that, and you're gonna know that there are people out there just like you. And I think what also it reinforces, like as we've seen with Sarah's case, is it brings up that confidence in people, because they know it's just like, oh, what I like isn't weird. It's totally more than fine. I can be myself, and I'm allowed to be myself because other people are accepting of that. And like, because like Andrew mentioned, like back in the day, like watching anime, playing. I think my favorite part about this. Dungeons and Dragons and LARPing was like the
Oh my God, yeah.
biggest nerd
Yeah.
thing you could
totally.
do. And you were shunned. You were like in the ninth circle of hell. You could not get out of that. The moment you said that,
beyond
you
the
were
ninth
done
circle.
for. Like anime fans was like the second circle. You could probably like, you know, climb your way out. But like the moment you said Dungeons and Dragons, they
You're
imagined
done.
you
It's
under
social
like
suicide.
one spotlight, throwing dice in like a little circle, all of your like snot covered glasses, like everything.
I hate you.
So the fact that like in our society, how we've grown is that now it's this huge resurgence of Dungeons and Dragons in full.
I mean, Dispel Dice just had like they made like $2 million in 10
like
hours.
in a day.
Like not even a day. It was fucking great.
And so it's like what we're seeing is that like as the internet expands, which is like I guess this is like the only one benefit of the internet, is that as we see these communities rise up from being these like close-knit circles and smaller communities that were only local communities, we're seeing it grow at a global pace and seeing everybody enjoy things. It's like, no, we can pretend we're like a level 50 druid. I know nothing about Dungeons and Dragons.
It's like I don't either.
But it's like you're allowed to enjoy these things and know that there is a community out there that is willing to enjoy it with you. That is the best sort of confidence, and knowing that something that you like is also thoroughly enjoyed by others outside of yourself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Dungeons and Dragons is a perfect example of this, though. Like,
insane. It's like my favorite case study.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
It's real life, though. Like, that's no joke.
Do you guys have any other thoughts on this one? Otherwise, I'm gonna transition on to our next topic here.
Well, I guess.
Go ahead, Jen.
For me, I'm still, kind of shy. And before cosplay, I wouldn't be able to imagine myself, like, especially being a guest and then being brought on stage and having to do panels and meeting all these people. But there was always that little part of me that just wanted to share. And that's why I got to, doing live journal and putting that
chat has been going hard on live journal
on DeviantArt.
Because like, what the fuck is live journal? Okay.
Oh god,
you don't know about LJ?
Zanga,
yes.
All the things that I couldn't say out loud, I would write in there, and like slowly through cosplay, I was able to actually talk to people more and sort of borrowing I guess the confidence of whatever character I'm cosplaying in the start. like it's okay, I can actually because I am Naruto. And finding out that that really is a part of me that I was just holding back before because I felt like people around me wouldn't be able to understand or appreciate that. So yeah, that's kind of what the experience was for me.
Totally.
I just want to talk on one tiny thing.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Ara brought up. Oh my God. Hold. She said, "Did cosplay make you more comfy being a tiny human? Because cosplay made her more comfortable with her body, blah blah blah." So basically, body image. I know for me, my height
a quick
has been
thing, body image.
Well, okay, whatever.
No, continue.
But what I want to say is like for me, my height has always and will always be a joke for someone. Like the fact that I'm 31, okay? Like the fact that people my age are still making short people jokes to me has just proved that it will literally never die. And it's not funny. Like I didn't choose to be short. I didn't choose to, be below the average height of what the American average height is. Also, I'm Asian, so fuck all of you. Anyway, I hated my height for the longest time. Andrew, you're blurry, by the way.
I know we'll come
Andrew,
on,
do
focus.
the beauty guru thing. This is my Morphe palette.
I'm dead. Anyway, the TLDR is that cosplay is definitely, I'm still very self-conscious about my body. Like, I'm very short. My body proportions are weird. I have a long torso, short legs. My legs are very muscly. I don't have God forbid, I don't have a thigh gap, whatever. And I don't have any curves. Like, literally, I'm like rectangle shaped. Like, when I gave my measurements to one of my friends for a commission, she was like,
oh, that was wild.
I saw that. I know.
I was like, Sarah, you built like that?
There's nothing there. It's fine, whatever. Like it was something, and it's still like I'm still kind of like I'm literally like a rectangle, like stumpy legs. I'm SpongeBob basically.
God damn it.
But cosplay has helped me feel. I don't know if it's like raised confidence or if it's more like it has helped me accept that like this is the body that I've been given and that's okay, and I'm able to, alter things on my costumes to give the illusion that I'm taller. Like, Jen, I can't remember what costume it was that you did, but I think it was maybe Howl. You talked about how to create the illusion of like more height, you did like higher rise pants, but then you also talked about like the shoes or something to make your feet appear like bigger, like proportionally or I can't remember. Was it Howl?
Yeah. It was Howl's one of them, yeah. So the waist was higher, and I wore pointy shoes to begin with, but they were also like 2 sizes too big for me.
Yeah, like that. But when I read that, it made so much sense, and I was like, why have I never thought about that before? Like that was so revolutionary to me as someone who is like a tiny person and has weird body proportions, and normal clothes are just not made for me, honestly. So, but cosplay, I do everything from scratch, or I'm able to alter it myself, so I can make those alterations to make myself at least feel more confident. So it definitely taught me a lot about my body and to accept it, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not much taller than you, so
which I was really surprised by.
Because I'm always cheating my proportions, and I always have like heel inserts.
I was shook. I was like, oh yay, we're like the same height. Anyway,
when I first went to Fanime, in 2008, I think.
No, I didn't even know what that was in 2008. Anyway,
I got so many people telling me that you should cosplay Edward Elric, and I'm like, you're not the first person who's told me that.
Like, congratulations on being not original.
Yeah.
I also get that a lot. Like, when I finally said that I'd finally watched Brotherhood, people were like, oh my god, what are you gonna do, Edward Elric? I was so old. It took me like 50 years to finally watch this show, and now you're gonna throw you're short, therefore you must cosplay Edward Elric. Y'all, Come on.
So I'm.
If you're gonna insult me about my height, at least come up with something like witty and unusual. At least be creative about it. No, people are boring. It's fine.
So
anyway,
technically we have 2 minutes left of the first half of this, and I'm like, do we try and sneak in another topic that I had lined up? I don't know if we can do it in 2 minutes, so maybe we'll go a little bit longer on this first half, but kind of wanted to dig into this one just a teeny bit since
go for it.
Which
I can't remember what it was.
This one's going to be a shorter one and more cut and dried, I think.
So you think?
I hope so.
You are staring at four clowns.
You want to know
I'm
what
staring
the
at four
question
clowns?
is? I'll tell you what the question is.
Okay, the next question is how to find and book a photographer for your first paid photo shoot.
That one's a fun
one.
Sarah. Oh. See?
Only because we do talk about this on critique, like literally every.
Yeah. But I think it's good to talk about for people.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, because I mentioned on the last stream, like what I really look for is kind of like the fantasy aspect of cosplay. That's what I really thoroughly enjoy. Like sometimes I don't want it to be me, you know, like, and like sometimes I want that heightened illusion, whether it is through something that is aesthetically dreamy or whether it is more of a storytelling shot. And so what I usually, what's the question? Shit. I just kept talking.
How did you book your first paid shoot?
Anyways, and so really, I wasn't wrong. So what you really want to do first is really scout out your photographer, because normally nowadays is like back in the day, photographers weren't normally like charged. Back in the day, it was kind of like they were there. If they want to take a photo, they took a photo. Now it's like
the photos also sucked, by the way.
Back in the day, it sucked. You had like one random person where the photos were like really good, and you're like, "This is insane. Where did you get this technology? You're light years ahead of us." And then everybody magically pirated Photoshop, and everything was
hell yeah. I wish that was the case anyway.
And so what you really want to do is, because it's such an investment, especially on a cosplayer's behalf, where a cosplayer has put time, resources, and money into a costume, the last thing you really want is like a photo that really doesn't match up to your aesthetic. So I always recommend really delving into your prospective photographer's portfolio and really seeing if what they have shot in any essence really resonates with you. That's how I usually try to find any photographer, because some people very simply want portraits, and that's totally fine. Some people, want more of a storytelling shot like me. Some people want more fantasy shots. Some people want this huge composite going on to really bring that fantasy forward. And I say, go for it. But the first thing you want to do is really look into everything, because especially in this day and age where social media is a thing, some photographers really do only put out their portfolio like on their social media of like their best clients. And sometimes they're like the models, and not all of us are models. Some of us are just normal people. We don't photograph like models. We don't have the posing experience. So that's why I always say, if the entire portfolio is out there, really deep dive to see how they work with a variety of clients, to make sure that you know what you're getting with. I think, great examples of this is, like everybody on this stream, and then Shea Photo, Mason Hikari, like even Topher, Mason Hickory, Topher, Wesley Kyoku out of New York. Like they're all like in their portfolios, you will see a great variety of people.
It's like those three alone are so different. Like,
yeah,
you couldn't get more polar opposite for each of those three. That's wild.
I think the biggest thing to me too is, I don't want to say that skimping out is ever going to like help you, but just making sure, like, chances are if you're paying like $20 for 50 photos, it's gonna suck. So like understand kind of the like market and what you're getting into, and that chances are higher quality photos will net you a higher price. Like those two usually go hand in hand. Not absolutely, but more or less. There's a lot of correlation there.
I do want to kind of touch on that like really quickly, because I saw a quote today that I think is a really good one. It's like this article I saw on LinkedIn where the title was like, it's like you're not paying for like my like you're paying for my experience ultimately.
You're not paying for the time it takes me to do the thing. You're paying for the years that it took me to learn the thing.
Yes. Because like I know like I've gotten a lot of gripe because since I upped my prices, and I know Shea Photo gets a lot of gripe because she's above anything above 100, you're gonna get shit basically.
Yeah.
And I think what people fail to understand is like for example, I only deliver like 3 photos and sometimes extras if I feel like it. And then Shea Photo, I think, delivers like 6 to 8, depending on like what the package it is that you're buying. But like ultimately, like you're paying, but she charges more than I do. But you're ultimately paying for like working with someone who has been in this field either as a hobbyist for X amount of years, or they're a hobbyist and they're a professional. So like in Riley's case, she is also a professional photographer. Like her full-time gig is photography. So like you're not just paying for 8 photos. You're paying for the experience of working with someone who knows how to shoot someone, knows how to find their angles, knows how to find the best light, can edit them in a quick amount of time, knows like that the end and like you'll get a very cohesive end product too. You have to think about that as well. Like yeah, I have to think about the whole experience when you're booking. I'm like, what are you booking? Because you're not just booking the X amount of photos that you're getting back at the end of the shoot. You're booking for the entire experience. And that's from start to finish. That's from you signing up to you getting the photos a month later or whatever.
Yeah. I think the other thing is don't be afraid to ask people.
Absolutely.
Please ask me.
There's not a lot of there's no review system that you're on Yelp and you're looking at the reviews for cosplay photographers. That's not a thing that really happens. So you got to be willing to like just ask people. If you know someone who's worked with a photographer, ask them. Hell, if you've never talked to someone and you know a cosplayer that like maybe is like an acquaintance, a friend of a friend, just reach out to them and ask them. Most people are going to be like, they're going to tell you about their experience shooting, and it's like maybe it's going to be a little awkward, but I think most people are just they're going to understand where you're coming from, and they're just going to give you a straight answer.
I think another thing to say is like, just because you see a friend post a series of photos from a photographer doesn't necessarily mean that their experience the whole way through was a good one.
Yeah.
Like I saw some, I can't remember. It's too far up now. People are like, oh my God, they're talking so much. I saw someone in chat say something about like, oh, like I find through like, seeing like my friends' photos and what photographers that they're working through. And that is a great way to find photographers. But I just want to put emphasis on that. Like if that's how you should still ask your friend, like, hey, what was it like shooting with Sarah? Or what was it like shooting with Andrew? Like, I really like this photo from Colossal East or like whatever. Because like I said, you don't know the whole story of
chance
photo.
And sometimes a photo that someone got back that they was maybe a really great photo to you and they posted might have been actually a very mediocre experience for one reason or another, like, or maybe it was a great photo but the photographer was terrible at getting it back, and it took them like a year,
like 10 years,
and they finally got the photo back, and it's decent but maybe not as worth what you would have paid, and definitely not worth waiting a year for. So just ask, because you don't really know the full context of communication. It's a good thing. Okay, with that, this will end the first half of the Q&A. So we're gonna take a short break. And when we come back, we will be answering all of your questions. So chat, think about some things that you want to ask us. Don't post them now because I will not be looking and saving them. Wait till we get back to ask questions. Just save them up, like get them ready to copy and paste back into the chat. But we will be back in about 5 minutes. So we will see you guys shortly.
Be brave.
All right, goodbye.
And we're back, and oh boy oh boy
It's clown hours, y'all.
it
It's coffee hours.
apparently. Okay, so now we are going to be going into the Q&A section of this stream. So what that means is you can ask us questions, and we'll answer the questions, hopefully. So we need questions
talk
in order
to us about Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
Andrew's favorite topic.
Oh, God, please, for the love of God. It's not even that I dislike Fire Emblem, but sweet baby Jesus.
You're all hot.
So before we get into answering questions, I do want to say, because I didn't remember to say this at the top of the stream, if you're enjoying the stream, please consider donating or subscribing. We're still pushing for kind of that donation goal for emote goals, even though they're already there. But
also,
whatever.
we never mentioned the artist.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Sarah, because you're.
Okay, the artist. Can you put it on screen? Can you type it?
I can put them in.
The
chat.
artist who made the emojis is, I don't know how to say it, but it's like Sweelock on Twitter. Her art is fucking amazing, and I was shook that she even responded to our emotes. She's also a beast because she was like, "Oh, I have 2 cons, but I can still get it done to you in time." And I was like, "Okay, sweet, you do that." It's like
I pasted their link to their Twitter in chat.
Oh, okay. Oh, sweet lucky. Yeah. She's super, super fucking talented. She's like, I've been following her for like a really long time, and she's like one of my favorite. And I can't believe that she had the horrific honor of staring at a picture of me to draw my face. But she's great. We like seriously, the process was so smooth, and I was like, I want a corgi, and I want you to draw me reading 10 count, and that's what she did. So I have no complaints other than she did a great job. I'm obsessed.
Point being was we're still looking for donations towards that goal. So if you're in if you have the ability to donate, we would greatly appreciate it. But
just think of it this way, you're also helping this artist get some money too. Yeah.
That said, we do have all these emotes for subs. Eventually I will get to doing new sub goals, or not sub goals, sub icons, but let's take things one at a time here. But Twitch Prime spiel here. So if you have Amazon Prime, that means you have Twitch Prime, which means you have 1 free sub a month to give to whichever streamer that you'd like on Twitch. And for the love of God, use it somewhere. We would greatly appreciate it if you used it here, if you have it. But at the same time, just use it. Like, find a streamer, use that sub, because otherwise that money is just going to waste. You're giving it back to, as our friend LA lovingly calls him, Papa Jeff. Papa Jeff don't need that money.
Papa Jeff.
Papa Jeff.
Yeah. So make sure you use it. Make sure you use it, because otherwise it disappears. With that, let's do some questions. Let's see.
Joe, you look so cozy.
I'm so comfy.
Helviet, I see, is asking some very specific telephoto lens questions.
I can't answer that question.
I was gonna say, I don't know if we can. That's probably outside of our realm. Like, you're asking like 200 to 600. The furthest range I've really ever used is 200 millimeters.
You gotta stand like 10,000
yeah, I'm just
away.
like, that's not a realm. That's not what you're gonna use for cosplay photography. I mean, I suppose you could, but like, that would be such a ridiculous thing. Okay.
Yeah, what are you trying to shoot, Helvia?
Yeah. Are you trying to shoot a cosplayer like from a mile away from the convention? I don't know.
Are you shooting like a cardinal in a tree?
That would make more sense. Okay, let's transition.
I mean, the bokeh is probably like real sick.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, the specs on that lens might be really nice, but I'm like, that sounds like a nature photography lens.
Yeah.
All I'm gonna say is,
lens.
you're allowed to shoot with whatever the hell you want to shoot with.
Absolutely.
If you're trying to build a rapport with a cosplayer, I'd have to say anything above a 200 is probably not the way to go.
Yeah.
I don't want you fucking shouting at me from across the room, lower your chin, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the only reason why, because it's like, in a shoot, it's such a personal interaction that it's like, if you are so far, it's kind of like mixed signals for the model or cosplayer for that.
It's fucking terrible. Don't do it.
Oh, Helvia, if it's for nature photography, you're set.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
We can't help you much there though. You're gonna.
Yeah,
I don't think.
I don't know nothing about birds and deers.
Did someone say deer? I'm just kidding.
God damn it.
Shit.
Kitty Cat Meow 13 asks,
Oh,
Photoshop
dear.
or Lightroom?
Oh dear.
Both. The answer is both.
Yes, that is correct. We have a correct answer. I don't even know.
Whichever one you like and whichever you're trying to achieve.
I think, yeah. So I think the best way to describe it is that before I even learned how to edit photos, my friend was like, "Oh, you should have Lightroom." I was like, "What's Lightroom?" And they were just like, "Oh, just imagine it's Instagram on crack." And I was like, "Oh, cool." So Lightroom is where you do your very basic adjustments for the most part. And it's just like you're playing around with lighting, colors. It's like everything that you can do in the Instagram app within their local editing tool. Just imagine it blown out of proportions and it can do so much more. Whereas
Lightroom is VSCO, is basically what it is.
God damn.
pretty much.
Yeah.
It's pretty much VSCO. And
It's
then,
VSCO, but on your computer.
Cheers, Sarah.
Ooh,
Cheers.
baby. And then whereas
Water.
hydration.
Yep. Hydration station.
Oh yeah.
Whereas Photoshop is more on the lens of more photo manipulation or even like drawing on top of a photo. And so you can do so much more there.
Yeah.
That you can't really do within Lightroom, but I would say Lightroom is more fun for basic photo manipulation. Whereas Photoshop, you can really transform an image.
Photoshop is pretty much whatever you want to do in Photoshop, you can pretty much do in Photoshop. Like the sky is the limit in Photoshop. You want to do 3D in Photoshop? Cool. You want to edit video in Photoshop? Cool. You want to do like pretty much anything that you physically can imagine doing in Photoshop, you can pretty much do. I don't know why they made this program as robust as they did, but
Who cares?
It's insane. So, but to that point, Photoshop
But
has
also there are Lightroom capabilities in Photoshop.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
called Camera
Yes.
Raw
Yeah.
filter. So
Pretty much
you don't need. Oh wow, sorry.
Yeah.
You don't need to use both. I mean, the great thing about Lightroom, which I'm still kind of getting accustomed to, is it's a great organization tool for your photos.
Same.
Because does Adobe Bridge even exist anymore?
Adobe Bridge is totally.
I don't think I've ever opened it. Like intentionally.
I feel like that
It
was
depends
the
what you're
thing, like
using.
in college, that people were using to organize their photos, but then Lightroom all of a sudden became like really robust.
It
I
depends.
guess.
It depends what your use case is for it. Because like at my workplace, we still my last workplace, they still used Adobe Bridge very heavily because Adobe Bridge is more than just photos. Because Adobe Bridge is like PDFs and Illustrator files and like everything Adobe makes, and then you can tag things and just it's.
I mean, Illustrator.
Yeah.
Oh my god, not Illustrator. Sorry, I was like literally just using Illustrator at work today. Sorry. Lightroom is a great organization tool to help you kind of like categorize things and like kind of like compare shots to make sure they're like cohesive, and you can. I feel like giving of like your presets that I do. So like when I do editing for a shoot, I'll save the preset of the first photo that I edited and then like mass apply it to everything else. Like I think that works a lot easier in Illustrator. Oh my god. Sorry. Lightroom. Illustrator's a vector program. Please don't use that to edit. Yeah, so in that regard, I like it, and I like that as like kind of like my base, like color correction, light correction, noise removal, all that shit. But when it comes to like the heavy like color grading, I think Photoshop is just way easier to use.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing here is almost everything in terms of photo manipulation you can do in Lightroom, you can do in Photoshop, plus way more.
But more.
For me, how I use Lightroom is Lightroom's like my organizational tool, and then I will level everything out. So like I get my exposure right, I get like kind of remove color casts and just do some basic corrections in Lightroom, and then I send it over to Photoshop for all the other work. But that said, Lightroom is a good tool. Like if you're looking for a beginner tool to get into photo editing, like you can do a lot of really cool things in Lightroom. So it's a good entry point.
Lightroom Mobile is free. So if
It
you
is
ever
free.
wanted to try it out, you can just do Lightroom
Did not
Mobile. And like if you had like if you were gonna pay for the subscription and you had to choose one, I would say if you have the time to learn Photoshop, because Photoshop, like we've all mentioned, is so in depth. I would say just go for Photoshop and just do Lightroom Mobile.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I will say there is the barrier to entry in Photoshop is so much higher than it is for Lightroom, though.
It's insanely
hell yeah.
high. It's insane.
Yeah.
That's why I say
God.
if you have the time to
Yes.
learn Photoshop.
Before Photoshop, the thing,
GIMP.
the only thing I knew was like literally MS Paint.
Shut
So
up.
when my friend showed me layers, I was
Stop.
like, layers?
I started using.
What do you mean?
Yeah. I started using Photoshop with version
And now I can
6.
turn my living room into a snowy landscape.
Yep.
But also, like Sarah mentioned, if you don't want to deep dive into the Photoshop, without not knowing like what you're walking into, GIMP is totally free. There are tons of Photoshop alternatives that are out there that you can play around with first before you like sort of deep dive into Photoshop. Photoshop is just kind of like an industry standard at this point, but it doesn't mean that there aren't other softwares out there that can replicate what Photoshop does.
GIMP is not bad. There's
No,
this
it's not.
misconception that GIMP is bad. It's just people, I think, who use GIMP don't necessarily understand how colors work together, how to edit properly, so therefore GIMP is bad. But if you use GIMP properly, it's fine. It's free. It's a great resource. Like I said earlier, Visco is basically Lightroom, but for mobile. So if you even want a more dumbed down version, so you can start understanding like how colors work together and terminology or basic terminology, that's another great program to use. That's how I edit all my photos mostly, is using Visco. It's spelled like this.
VSCO.
I think it's on Android.
Yeah, it
is.
Okay.
I think we did that one justice. So I know Mallow had asked this a little bit of ways back.
Oh, wait. So if you want to learn all of Jin's secret techniques in Photoshop and not Illustrator, but Lightroom, you should request your local con so they can be a guest, so we can fly their ass back out here to the US. Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. I've learned a lot from Jin. Literally just what we edited those Kingdom Hearts photos like in the hotel room, and I literally was like, oh. Wow. I've learned a lot.
I think the crazy thing about
10
Photoshop
seconds.
is like I've been using Photoshop for like a decade and a half now. And I could learn so much still. Like there's so much that I have no idea about.
Oh, did you see the new Smart Select? Oh, what was it?
I haven't tried it yet, but yeah, I saw it.
Oh, is it integrated now?
I think so. I think it's in.
Oh wow, my mind was freaking blown.
Yeah.
I want to see it.
We love smart AI shit.
So, as I was saying, Mallow had asked this question a little bit of ways back, which is, how do you deal with outside interruptions during a shoot? As far as
you hire Joe as your assistant, and he just says bye to everyone.
I do. So, I mean, I guess this is more from a cosplayer perspective, because like sometimes, like from somebody would be like, "Oh, can I take a photo?" And you're just like, I'm a very vocal person, so I don't really care about my public perception to people. So I will just be like, hi, I'm in the middle of a shoot. Can you wait 30 minutes? Come back to me in an hour. We got a line waiting. Or like if they like keep harassing to like just kind of like snipe, I'm like, hi, I'm not in my best. I'm not even looking at your camera. You're not gonna get what you want at the end of the day. So it's like if I can, because usually the photographer is facing me, I can see outward into the world. I'll try to stop interrupters as much as I can. Like Sarah mentioned, like if I'm assisting her, I'll try to like scoot away people. Anybody that
it's hilarious. I love it.
It's like, because it's like I don't care. Like it's like because at the end of the day, the photo is a creative process, especially in the middle of a photo shoot. The last thing you need interrupting you is somebody that's just like, I just want to hover over your shoulder and go. Like it's a nightmare because then the model's distracted. The model is looking off in the distance. The photographer's seeing it through their lens. The photographer is like, what the hell's going on behind me? Little do they know. It's like it adds so much noise to a photo shoot scenario that doesn't have to occur. So I try to like nip it in the bud as fast as possible.
So something I've noticed that seems to work a little bit better. Now, I'm not saying a ton, so don't like take this too seriously, but usually I'll say like, I'm working with a client right now. We can't be interrupted or something. And usually if the word client is thrown out there, they understand that this is like a paid endeavor, even if it's not. So even if I'm shooting Joe, for example, like for free, I'll still be like, I'm working with a client right now. Like, can you like not interrupt? Yeah. It doesn't help all the time, but it definitely, you can at least kind of see like the light bulb going off in their head, being like, oh, this is like a professional thing that's happening. But to be quite honest, I tell them to fuck off in a very polite way, of course. But like, I don't have time. Like, time is money in this case. And like, if I'm only shooting people for 30 minutes, like, I don't want some random ass passerby from fucking DC who's on tour to see the White House to interrupt my time. Sorry.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I have no tolerance. I'm too old.
And I think as I'm reading the chat, like Mal's like just being like, oh, like what happens if like passerbyers or normies like on location type setting. And so it's like it was like very funny because it kind of happened at ANYC this past weekend when I was dressed as Archer. And just because ANYC happened at the same time, a chocolate expo was actually happening at the same time in the Javits Center.
I want to go to that.
So some people would like come up from the chocolate like showcase, and I don't know accents, so I just do just generic European with like, oh, you look so cool. Can I take a photo? And they're like, okay, cool.
But like, I guess.
Like whatever. And one person's like, are you from Devil May Cry? And I'm like, nope. Yes. I'm from Fate Stay Night. And they're like, And I'm like, you don't know what that is, do you? They're like, no, but you look great. Can I take a photo? Anyways, going back on track, what happened was one scenario was one lady was clearly just sniping. Like I am fully leaning against the gate, talking to my friend. My friend, like luckily me and my friend are both very loud people. So she noticed them, hey, would you like a photo? And like immediately starts berating them. And I was like, and she was like, oh, that'd be great. And I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm just gonna turn around and you can shoot my back. And she's like, no, we want to see you. And so it's just like, it's very funny because and like, but like, it's very funny because it's like, in scenarios like that, it's like, yes, kind of like I take pride and fun and like doing things like this, but a lot of people will understand if you bring it up to them, but a lot of people think they can get away with what they want, especially because they're like, oh, they're not dressed like normal people. I can do
do whatever I want.
And so that's really what it is at the basis of it, because they're like, oh, they're dressed funny. What's going on? And so I need to stop doing that voice. But like what happens is like that's all it is, because you're not of the norm, because you're not dressed normally. They think they can get away with a lot more than intended. But at the end of the day, like I'm wearing a wig and makeup. I'm still a person. And I will confront you.
Well, we're out of our safe space in public. To be fair.
But also, fun fact, because I'm in a wig and makeup, I don't look like myself. I can berate you.
That's true. No, so something that I forgot who told me this, but it does work, and it's like it's pretty crude, but whatever. Is to, if you feel so, and I only do this to people who are continually sniping. So it's not someone who I've like confronted and be like, can you like please like not creep on me like that? That's weird. Like these are people who are clearly like really far away, are on their iPhones, like literally like they're on their phone and they're like this. And you can tell that they're like zooming in and whatever. And literally a good trick, like I said, it's not polite, but whatever. They're not being polite, so they don't deserve politeness. Is to stick up your middle finger, and it works every time. So because on the way to the Kingdom Hearts concert in New York, my friend Paulina and I, we were not cosplay, but we were dressed as like Shion and Aqua. So we had different hair. Whoa. And this dude was like literally one seat away from us, and like he and his wife like just kept like they had their phones up like this, and they were like not being discreet about it at all, and they didn't ask either. They just kept kind of like trying to take pictures, and they had their sound on so I could hear the stupid camera sound.
Oh my god.
And so Paulina and I were just like, we were like this the entire time, just being like, because then the photo's ruined. So even though they continue to take pictures, the photo is useless to them because you have someone flicking off the camera. So that does, like I said, I only use that in like super extreme cases.
To add to this,
I thought you were gonna say to do the Jenna Marbles thing where you make a face at them. Like,
I've tried that; it does not work.
Oh no, you're too cute.
Why? No, Americans are.
God damn
Are
it!
so
I'm like having a hard enough
stupid.
time taking
Oh
you
my
seriously, Joe.
Ah!
Uh, to add to that, though, I would say if you see people doing these kind of behaviors, and you're not the one the quote unquote victim in this situation, call them out. When I'm at cons and I see people sniping, I call them out. At first I just try to be like pleasant about it, but if they like put up any air of like, oh, I'm like, then I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? No.
Right.
But sometimes people, quote unquote, don't know. They should know better, but they are being dumb and not like treating people
There's
like
really no explaining it.
There's no good explanation. There's no good reason, but lots of people are just being idiots, and that is the truth. And it's not that they want to be this crappy person. It's just that they're too dumb to think about whether they're being a crappy person.
Right.
So just to be, helping educate people is a good thing, I guess. But you're always going to deal, like, there's going to be the people that are just assholes about it, and there's nothing you're going to do. But it's probably like 50-50 between people that just don't know and people who are assholes.
Mm-hmm. Photographer Breakfast Club, hell yeah. That's what Mallow just said. Anyway.
So Kitty Cat Meow 13 had asked a little bit ago, how did you all get into cosplay and or cosplay photography?
Ooh. Jen, you should lead this one.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to say it's embarrassing.
Jen, you lead it.
To cosplay or cosplay photography specifically.
You can say both.
You do both, so you're kind of inclined to answer both.
Well, for cosplay, I first saw what it was, like, randomly going through Google Images for some Final Fantasy images, maybe looking for some wallpaper, I don't know. And then I saw a bunch of FF7 cosplayers, and at the time, there was no remake. There wasn't even Advent Children.
There wasn't even Advent Children, probably.
Yeah. So I was like, why are the graphics so good on this? What is this? To open up the image and realize that they were like just people in costumes and that this was a thing that you can do. And then my friend and I were like, we want to try that. And then we just never stopped. The photography kind of came in because at first we didn't know that there were events locally over here. So we were kind of doing our own thing, kind of making a reason to bring out our costumes and wear them and sort of do some visual storytelling, so to speak. And we had just gotten digital cameras because we needed them for school, and so it just sort of happened. And then we were also watching a lot of America's Next Top Model and getting a lot of like shoot tips from there, and we were like, yeah, let's try that. So that's where it started for me.
Joe?
Oh, that's me time? Okay. So I mean, I've been like, I was like a weeb for like the longest. I feel like outside of my first anime, kind of hilariously being Bible Black, and like the second one being Lucky Star. Like,
get the fuck out of here.
I like making that. If I was a stand-up comedian, that would be my opening joke. Anyways, but
that joke would only fly in a very with a very specific audience.
I know it's a very niche crowd, and I love that crowd.
Oh my god, I love it.
And so like I've always like known that like cosplay. See, you're smiling. It's work. So it's like the thing is like I've always known that because it's like funny because it's like in a lot of slice of life animes, like cosplay is always mentioned in some way, shape, or form. Like, oh, these people like dress up and go to a con. And I was like, oh, that'd be cool. But I never had the chance to go. And all it took was like, which for a lot of people is like their one friend drags them to a convention and is they're just like, hey, there's one near us. You want to go together? And I was like, yeah, let me see what it's about. So I actually started off as a con goer first. And after I want to say like a year or 2 years as a con goer, I was like, let me see what this cosplay is about. And then from then on out, it was like a downward spiral into cosplaying. And I think what the fun thing about like my first cosplay was, it was nothing that like I can do today. It was, you know, your bare basics. Like it was fully a closet cosplay, but like you could not tell me I was not a cloister Gajinka, but like you could fully clearly tell I just bought a lot of things in Hot Topic at their prime and spray painted a lot of it purple. But you
Hell
could
yeah.
not tell me I was not cloister. But you tell me now, I was like, no. I was just some person who was trying to pretend to be like an e-boy back in the day. It was a hot mess. But it's like, you know, like everybody starts off somewhere. Like we never started off being perfect beings. We just luckily have had time to hone our craft at the end of the day.
My first cosplay photos don't exist online, and they
Yeah,
will
see?
never exist online.
They're done. They're gone.
No, God no. Oh boy. It's like my first cosplay was back in 2005.
Hell yeah.
At my first convention. It was a rough one. I look back at those pictures and I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, same. Big mood.
For me, cosplay photography was just a gradual like thing where I was going to like, you know, went to to cons with my parents' Kodak camera, digital camera, and was taking very shitty picture like hallway pictures. And then I think I was a junior in high school, and my parents got me a Digital Rebel XT for my birthday one year.
Yeah, it's a great camera.
Oh, it's terrible, but it was great at the time.
It's great.
It's a good entry
I
level.
got that too.
Yeah. It was a lot of people's entry level cameras.
It's a good entry level camera. Like no joke. Like literally, I'm not joking.
Yeah.
It was a good camera.
And now our phones can do better.
Oh yeah. The amount of
Dude,
the
that
amount
Google
of
Pixel,
grain
y'all,
that
Jesus
in those photos. Ooh. But you know, I was taking that and I was, you know, taking slightly better hallway photos, and then I wanted to take slightly better hallway photos, and then it escalated to me taking like, oh yeah, we're gonna take more than a couple photos here, let's step outside real quick and try and grab some photos. And then it was just such a slow progression. That's why I have a hard time like placing like when I started doing cosplay photography, because like it was like, when is the start point? Is the start point when I started doing hallway shots? Is it when I started doing like, is it when I did my first like, you know, shoot at a con with a cosplayer, even though I didn't think of it as such? So yeah, it's hard to say. It was a pretty slow onboarding though. Sarah, do you want to give your story?
Hold on one sec.
No. Hold on.
Hold on. Sorry.
We're all waiting.
I had to finish with that. I'm trying to decide if I should answer both or just one.
Just do one. That's fine.
Well, I already talked about why I got into photography,
Yeah.
but
Sure did.
the cosplay one's really embarrassing because
Just say it.
it's in my cosplay realm interview, so you just go read that.
Sick.
Whoa.
She's in a publication.
Oh, what a badass.
No, real talk though, Jen, like seriously, you were like one of the main reasons I got into cosplay. So embarrassing.
Honestly, same.
I want to die. I've never verbalized it to your face. The funny thing is like I hate Halloween. Like the whole idea of dressing up, it's just I hated it. Like I never dressed up on Halloween as a kid. I hate it. Like even now I hate Halloween. Like it's so weird. But
It's so good.
I fucking hate it. Anyway,
I don't like dressing up, but I like watching a Jessica
Yes.
Rabbit yell at her like boyfriend who's fully dressed up as Bob the Builder. That gives me so much joy.
Okay, I like normies doing Halloween. I just hate Halloween.
I hate doing it.
Also,
for
as
myself.
a normie and as a cosplayer. Yeah, I swear to God, I still remember vividly stupid Death Note photo in the candy shop on the featured page on DeviantArt, and I thought it was a painting at first. Like I thought someone had like hyper realistically like painted a scene of their own from the series. And then I was like, so it's kind of like your Final Fantasy thing. I was like, is this a photo or is this like real people? I don't understand. And like at the time I knew what cosplay was, but like, you know, I hated the idea of dressing up. But when I saw what you could do with dressing up in general, like as a whole, I was like, this is more than just like being a hoe one day during the, you know what I mean? Like I was like, I guess dressing up is like kind of cool. Cause like also like, you know, kind of to go back to like my high school self, like that just was not a thing. Like going all out on Halloween, whether it's like in a scary way or like a legitimate way, like even like dressing up as like a Disney princess at the time and during my high school years was like so taboo. Like you had to be cool and dress up as like a meme or like something clever or like whatever. So the idea of dressing up as something true to its original source was just so frowned upon that's how I had always viewed dressing up as is like kind of like this thing that you shouldn't do, I guess. But then when I saw your thing, and then that led me down like this like black hole of like, what the fuck is cosplay? I don't even really know what this is. Yeah.
That's cool because like we kind of would push for something other than just normal, you know, pose in a costume shots, like sort of these like slice of life things. Because
yeah,
for me and my friends, that's we kind of wanted cosplay photography to be more than that, like more than con shots, more than showing off your props and doing a cool pose and that's it. So to do that whole photo series and sort of, you know, tell stories through the photos, those are things. So that's really cool to hear that, you know, that struck something with you too.
Awesome. Let's move on to this next one.
I'm a fucking embarrassment.
Nah.
No, you're
My chef, hopefully I pronounced that right. Sorry if I did not. Had asked, backtracking a little, can you talk about more about cosplaying tricks for shorties, please?
Oh.
Did Ara put that?
No, it wasn't Ara.
It wasn't?
No, it wasn't Ara.
No, it wasn't. No.
Oh,
It
wow.
was my chef, if I pronounced that right. M-Y.
I also read all of Jin's journals on
CHEFF.
Anyway, Ara just said that in chat. That's a fucking mood. I looked forward to those journals all the time.
Oh man, I miss having like a platform for long form things. Like it's different now.
Yeah, it is.
What? Just sign up for a Squarespace, get a blog, you're good.
I mean,
That's funny.
I do still keep like
It's $20 a year.
Oh, never mind. I take that back. I didn't know
I have
it was
2
that cheap.
websites because it's so cheap.
That's wild.
Yeah, and you get a custom domain that doesn't say like Squarespace / or Squarespace.behindinfinity.com. It could literally just be behindinfinity.com.
Yo, plug your code right now, you influencer.
Oh, dude,
my
that was
God.
so long ago.
Are you a
I highly-
podcast?
I highly doubt I have that code anymore.
Dude, I fucking Squarespace, come at me. Give me that sponsorship money, please.
I can look into it if I have a code actually, but I don't think I do anymore. That was so long ago. Anyway, what was the question?
Sponsor us, Squarespace. Cosplaying tricks for shorties.
tips for shorties.
Jin.
Is that for us?
Dude, it's not for me, I can tell you that much. So
Same. I'm tall.
Low angle shots.
Wide angle shots, exaggerating, or creating. I think it's really about creating the illusion, like kind of like how we brought up earlier about like the howl costume.
Adding shoulder pads, even when you think you don't need them. It helps.
Yep. Oh,
Like
thank
create the illusion of a bigger, longer torso. And yeah, high waist pants, insoles.
bigger shoes, not Sora
bigger
shoes, but
shoes.
like normal shoes.
Yeah.
I would say like on a pose front, just elongate everything that your
Yeah.
body has to offer. Because if you
Mhm.
do a pose where
If
it's like very closed off, you will look short in the photo.
yeah.
Try not to lean back when you're posing.
Mhm.
I actually learned this from Wesley Kyoku when he was shooting me at Otakon. He said to, I guess I have a tendency to like lean backward. I guess because that's just naturally what we do. But he said to not do that because that actually makes you appear shorter, even with a wide angle lens. Because the wide angle lens also has some weird distortion. So if you're leaning back, it just makes you appear shorter. So if you're shooting with someone who you know is using a wide angle lens, actually like lean forward a little bit, and it'll help elongate your body. So that was an interesting trick.
Sometimes I tiptoe if you can't see it in the photo. Like if my feet are facing this way, you can tiptoe and you won't see that it's like this. So yeah.
Oh.
It adds a bit of lift without it showing on camera. And it especially helps if you're like with a group and you need to be taller, even just a little bit. Yeah.
So that's a good
Hidden
idea.
tiptoe.
Oh god. Yeah, just to make it look obvious. This is another weird thing, but like this is hard to do because depending on where you're shooting, but like don't stand next to things that people understand the context of it. So like if I pose at the gazebo, for example, for Katsucon, people are going to know immediately how small I am because everyone knows the scale of that gazebo.
Yes.
Or if I am posing near the gazebo, then I need to be further apart from the gazebo. I just can't be like directly in it. It'll give away how petite I am. But really it comes down to the costume, I think.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Excuse me. Sorry. Let's get to this one from 123 Toast 123, which is, what is your biggest inspiration, cosplay, photography, and or art-wise?
Ooh.
Ooh.
Well, I'm kind of
I'm like,
What are we doing? I
I'm
don't
kind
even
of
know.
always thinking about things in the in the context of like how am I gonna treat this cosplay to look like the live action adaptation of something? And I think it largely stems from me loving Fellowship of the Ring so much.
oh my god!
That's like my favorite movie of all time.
Holy
It's
shit!
fair. No, that's true.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. So like even with makeup style, I tend to sort of strive for a more cinematic approach where you do transform with the makeup, but it doesn't look like the makeup. Like I personally prefer like not seeing my eyeliner so stark, some stuff like that. So it's sort of like natural.
You somehow pull it off. I don't understand it. I even saw you apply, and I still was like, "What? Don't understand this sorcery."
Yeah. I was gonna say, I in terms of photography, I really like. My inspirations tend to be pretty direct. So like for cosplay photography, most of my inspirations are cosplay photography wise. But that said, then it goes beyond that, which is to say like my other biggest inspiration is music. I'm almost always listening to music when I'm editing, so it does play into how I'm creating or doing stuff. My musical tastes tend to fall outside of what a lot of people listen to in terms of the cosplay scene, because I listen to lots of heavier music, metal, but I also listen to jazz and just fairly unorthodox stuff, and I tend to draw pretty heavy inspiration from all of it. So bands like, specifically like Alcest or Mono, Russian Circles, those are my Jimmy jams, and I use them inspirationally a lot of times for attempting to capture mood. If that makes sense at all, if it can be translated from music to photography, which that's a hard thing to bridge, but I hope to say that it comes out at least a little bit in my work. I don't really know, but maybe it does. Any other thoughts from you guys?
I mean, I'm very much in the same boat as Jin, where it's just like if it could be something that for cosplay, from a cosplay perspective, where it is very much something that can be just translated into real life, whether it's like in a cinematic realm or as real as possible. So it's like that's why a lot of my makeup styles tend to follow the bones of my face, rather than trying to generally restructure my face entirely. The other things that I generally like for me, makeup style wise, that I like to change a lot is like maybe like my eyebrow shape, mostly because I have such a strong bone structure around my eyes that it's just like a lot of the styles, like Asian makeup styles, especially where they're monolid heavy, where you can, fake draw a crease in and it'll look really nice. I can't do those styles personally.
Does
Um,
it? Just kidding.
Not for me, it does not, because it's like no matter what, this is always gonna jut out like
You also have a hooded
over.
lid, so
I do have a hooded lid. It's never gonna work. I'm sorry.
yeah.
So I will always look the same, but it's very funny when people can't recognize me, because it's like I'll either go like aggressive with the contour sometimes if I want to exaggerate things. But I guess other things that really tend to influence my style, I try to, like, I don't want to, it sounds so stupid sometimes, but it's like I
Just
try to
say
make
it.
things like work for me, what versus like making things harder for me to replicate. Like, and it's like a lot of like for me, it makes it much easier if I'm passionate about something, then I'll try to make it true to the source versus like me just kind of like willy-nilly, just like doing it just to do it. Um, and so that really shows through depending on like the costumes that you see from me. And that's just like things. And I mean, like, I've mentioned tons of cosplayers in the past stream. You guys should watch the past stream.
It's a
But
time.
it's a fun time. I've mentioned cosplayers that I really look up to, that help influence my style, but definitely that more cinematic approach is really what catches my eye.
Speaking of past stream real quick, that episode just went up on YouTube today. It took a little bit because I had to edit out all of the dropped the times that the stream dropped, so I didn't get around to that till today. But it went up today, so if you want to watch it, it went live
You should
today.
check it out.
It's a time.
Sorry, it took a little bit.
Yeah, no problem.
Sarah, any thoughts on this one?
Photography wise, I'm mostly inspired by non-cosplay photographers. I really like editorial photography, so anything that you would see in like Vogue, for example, I really like. And I've recently become really inspired by fan art or like illustrations for photos. That's become kind of like my go-to in terms of figuring out like composition or like even colors I should go for, because they get so experimental with their stuff, and I've really been resonating towards that. Cosplayer wise, or not cosplayer, well, yeah, cosplayer wise.
Yes, maybe.
Yes. To kind of like go off of what Joe was saying is like I've learned to kind of figure out like how can I fit this character to me, because I like, again, kind of going back to like the tiny human thing, like I it's interesting to figure out ways to make this like tall character, for example, fit my tiny person. I cosplay a lot of characters that are tall, but that doesn't necessarily stop me from doing it, because I know that
Dimitri.
Oh, shit, you right?
I just heard a cough. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Anyway, so I don't let things like that persuade me. They used to in the past. I was really not confident about cosplaying like boy characters, especially. But now that I've kind of understood how my facial structure is and kind of like how to do makeup that is for my face, I think the best way I can put it, Joe, I think you know what I'm going to talk about here, is this tweet from like, or not a tweet, I think it was a YouTube video from Rihanna, who said, she did a makeup tutorial. I think it was for Vogue, for her Fenty line. Yeah, and she said like, she was like, you all need to stop like contouring or whatever the way that like every beauty guru tells you to contour, because just because someone's contouring like the hollows of your cheeks doesn't necessarily mean that it works for you. So you need to contour and highlight and like do eyeshadow according to your bone structure. Because like, yeah, I have monolids, but my monolids are so different compared to someone else who has monolids. So whatever technique that person uses doesn't necessarily mean it'll work on me. So I have to translate that to my body. So that really resonated with me. So usually my inspirations for cosplay are like outside of the cosplay community. That's what I'm saying.
No, totally. Let's move on to this next question from Ara, who asks, any characters you've wanted to cosplay or shoot, any characters you wanted to cosplay or a shoot you wanted to do, but held yourself back and didn't?
For me, that was like all the Final Fantasy cosplays. Which I wanted to do from the start, but then didn't have the skill to quite do it in a way that I'd be satisfied with. So I think when was it that was it FF10? Was it our FF10 shoot? That was the first time I actively pursued Final Fantasy cosplay. I think so.
What? Really? It was 10?
I think. And also like Kingdom Hearts, I held that off until we did it together.
I was like, I'm not gonna go there, but I guess we're
yeah.
Kill me.
Because like
mortified.
Just the wig, just Sora's hair is like, how would I
insane.
have done that before with our janky wig sellers and everything?
That's so true.
Oh god, that's a mood. Kingdom Hearts is a hold off for that's it. Literally doing it when we were at PMX was the first time I did it because I just was so afraid of doing it not justice because the game means so much to me. It's like it wasn't something that I wanted to rush into or you know, not that buying off of Taobao is bad, but like I wanted, because the game means so much to me, it was something that I wanted to fully invest in making myself.
Yeah.
Even though I was like, Kairi has literally 50 zippers on her dress, whatever. It'd be like that.
That's why I haven't done Legolas yet, actually.
Okay, no, you gotta.
At some point.
One lace front.
And you can tell me what you
and
see
you're
with
good
your
to
elf
go.
eyes. I'm going to take this a slightly different direction. And I don't know if there's ever been like maybe some skepticism for me from characters I've wanted to shoot because I've been worried like for my favorite like characters, like I really want to put that effort in. And if I don't have a great idea or if I don't have a great game plan, I might pass on them. Especially at cons where it's just like, well, I don't want to. Like, this is such an awesome character. Maybe I don't want to shoot it at a con. But the biggest thing for me is once I have done like a shoot and I have like such like photos that I'm super happy with straight out of camera, I have this weird like skepticism where I get super scared about ruining them in post or not doing them as much justice as I feel like I should based on how good that they are straight out of camera, because like I want to continue to make them better and better, but sometimes I'm like I get so caught up on like worrying that I'm gonna make them worse, or it's like a weird self-confidence thing in that area, I think.
No, that's fair, I think.
But I'm not sure if it happens to me quite as much as it used to, but it definitely still does happen to me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, the only thing that I've like held myself back from, even though I have the skills for it, is just to do Fire Emblem from Tiger and Bunny.
Please, when is it gonna happen? I'm like sitting here waiting.
And I mean, the only reason why is just because it's like Fire Emblem is like an older age, and it is a lot, and so like it's kind of one of those things where like Jin was saying, like I want to do it justice, more than anything else, and it's like I don't want to tarnish the design in any way, shape, or form. Like when that comes out, I want it to be like as good as my skills are at that time, and like I want it to look like it's professionally made by myself more than anything else.
I can't wait for you. I like literally cannot wait for because you've been talking about this for so long. I literally will never not be excited. I'm so excited. You're gonna look so like my mind. I remember I was like, oh my god, Joe needs to be Fire Emblem. Fuck.
It's gonna take so long.
So
It's fine. I'm here for it.
this is a final question we had in the queue, so people keep asking questions. I don't think
All
I've
right,
seen
coming
any
out
more.
with these questions. I see.
Was that the last one?
No, this is the last one that I've seen in chat, at least. So I have more
Ooh,
backup
there's
if you guys
more.
don't ask
Are
me.
we Boo Boo the fool?
No, we can keep on
Sarah,
going.
want a
There's-
snack?
Yes. Can I have some linguine? Thank you.
What
Of course.
what is the hardest cosplay you've made and why?
Ugh.
Wait, what?
the hardest cosplay you've made and why?
Yes.
Like- Are we supposed to explain why it was hard, or why did we do it?
I mean,
I
either
guess why it was
one.
hard?
There's no
Why did you
limitation.
suffer?
Yeah. Why did you put yourself through that hell?
I don't think this was necessarily a hard cosplay, but it was a cosplay that literally I did every technique that I used was new, basically. But was my my armored Zelda that I did at Colossal.
Mm.
I don't know when that was, last year or whatever.
2 years ago. 3 years ago.
Shut
I
up!
don't
No,
know.
it's not.
5 years
Time's a
ago.
constant.
10 years ago.
Oh my god, shit.
No.
I literally don't know what possessed. Oh, now I remember what possessed me. So I, as a seamstress, I suck. Any kind of like fitted clothing, I want nothing to do with. I can't do it anyway. So I was like, how can I cosplay Zelda from Breath of the Wild, but I can do it myself? And then for some reason, the idea of designing my own armor popped into my head. I don't know why, because I'm a masochist, I guess. Anyway, the idea came to me literally at work. Like I remember being at work and being like, "Oh my god, I need to design my own armor for Zelda," and I was so fixated on it. I just like could not stop thinking about it. And so I think also because I was like kind of butthurt that she like didn't get armor for some reason. I don't know. The thought process was like really weird. And so then not only did I design that myself, which is stupid, I then decided to make my first like full suit of armor by myself. Again, stupid. But luckily I had Kamui resources to really help me. And then I used like a bunch of fancy fabrics that I wasn't used to working with. Like I used a lot of Yaya Han's like duotone dupionis, which were perfect for it. I used like iron-on the iron-on vinyl or whatever for the first time. Like everything was a first. I wore a lace front wig for the first time. Fit like a glove. I told Joe today, literally.
You didn't even glue it down.
I didn't have to glue it down. I didn't have to tape it down. It literally was held by 2 bobby pins. That's
I
it.
was like, what?
I know, wild, right?
That was amazing.
Yeah. So it was. Like I said, the actual cosplay making part wasn't hard. Like making armor to me is not hard, but the fact that like the whole thing was just conceived by myself, like it wasn't a canon thing, was hard. It was hard. That's what it is. It was hard to get into the mindset that I was making something that wasn't canon, so I wasn't sure how it was going to be perceived in the public. Not that that matters, but you do care to some degree, right? So that was like kind of scary and daunting, but it was really rewarding. Like I learned a lot about like the costume design process and making armor, and I felt really cool. I'm not gonna lie, like I really want to make full armor again. I just don't know what. That's a lie. I know what, but whatever. Yeah. So again, it wasn't my hardest, but it was definitely it provided the most challenges, I guess. New challenges. Yeah.
Jen or Joe, you got a response to this one?
I hate every cosplay I make because I make it and I waste my time. But anyways, outside of that, I guess like in terms of like armor building, it was definitely like yarn. I think yarn was like my first ever like armor build, and it's because I was like, and it was literally like I don't want to use Eva Foam or Warbler. We're gonna go so far out of the box. I'm gonna use Sintra. And
no,
so,
you
like,
didn't. Shut up.
that thing was entirely made out of Sintra. And so if you don't know Sintra, it's just like PVC foam board. And it's like pretty much what like most advertising signs are made up on the highway. And the only reason why was because like Johnny Junkers was like, this is my primary material. This is all I use. And it's a treat because it's like, it takes spray paint really well. The only thing is you cannot do complex curves on it. And so the thing is, like, when I like made it, I was like, oh wait, I hope I don't have to do complex curves. So it's like literally like heat forming it. And I
Dead.
was like, let me tell you, this thing just kind of floated on my body. But like luckily that was like the first time I think it was the first time we officially shot together.
Wait,
I might
it
be
totally
wrong.
was not floating on your body.
It felt like it was because it was on my
Oh.
body. But
It
on
was
photos,
the first
it
time we
looked
shot
great.
solo, though. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it looked great like
You look
everywhere else.
great. You look great as a
But like
furry.
But yeah, full furry. So it's like making like ears and like the tail, making sure it like wagged properly as I walked, and like all these little details that I was like, I'm not a human. I'm literally a bunny. This is insane. And then like outside of that was Kuranosuke from Kurage Hime. The only reason why I challenged that was because J Hart released how he made his petticoat, and I was like, I too want a petticoat made out of
We
like
fucking love J Hart in this house.
so good. And I was like, I'll make a petticoat made out of 3 football yards worth of like materials. Like I had fabric all over my living room. It was insane. I look great. I can do better makeup now. So I'd probably revisit it later on. But like sewing that was like legitimately, I think was the first time that like I had to put my sewing skills to the test as well as all of my patience, especially since I rhinestoned and like did like Louis Vuitton heels. That was insane. Never
You
want to do that again.
snapped for that costume.
I still have the heels. I wear them occasionally. I love them.
You
so
absolutely
much.
should. Whatever.
I'm
I have
a
this great
fan.
photo of me
It's fun.
literally grabbing your titty.
He leaves to go grab them. Sorry if you guys are
Literally-
hearing my wife
literally,
go
I'm like
crazy
this.
typing,
This
by
was
the way.
me 2 years into cosplay. What patience did I have?
That's
A lot. And it was
intense.
a colossal. It was a colossal of all cons.
I wore it at a con where it's a Caucasian's dream of an African safari. This had no place in that. This had no place in that. I'm very mad, but I really snapped.
It was great. You
I
looked
love-
fabulous.
Ugh,
I mean, you are fabulous, but you know,
I
whatever.
tried my best.
I know.
Jen, do you have an answer to this one?
Hardest for me was also armor, which was my Hiro Hamada armor from Big
Oh,
Hero
God.
6.
Oh, that was so
It was
Which
groundbreaking, though.
That was also like a lot of first times doing techniques. And actually, before that, I didn't do a lot of armor at all. So that's when one of my friends who's a crafter sort of, took me under his wing to like teach me. I was gonna commission it just because I love the movie so much, and he was like, you know what? Let me just show you how to do it, and then we'll like make it together. And so we did, and that's when I realized small things like I had sucked at cutting foam just because I
Mood.
was using shitty cutters.
Yeah.
Like there's a specific like crafting knife that makes it so easy to make clean curves. And I was like, wow, I can do this. And then it
Wow, I
was
don't
also
need
the
to
first
suck.
time experimenting with like pigment powders and using an airbrush too, because Hero's armor kind of shifts from purple to blue, right?
Yeah.
And we were like, we really want to get that effect. So the
Oh,
only way
yes.
was to source these pigment pearls that did that duochrome
Was it
thing.
auto body paint?
Yes.
Okay, I was like, I vaguely remember you saying
Like
auto
we
body.
really went in on that costume. Like the art book also says that their hero suits are inspired by cars, so that's why we went for like automotive paint. And my helmet was we built the base from foam, but then we added layers of Bondo, like car filler.
Oh
So we
yes.
sculpted
yes,
that,
Mondo.
and I was sanding for like 2 weeks. And since they were magnets were a big thing in Big Hero 6, so a lot of the attachments were earth magnets.
Literally blew my
So we
fucking
could be
mind.
extra. And then you remember my arms, right?
Yeah.
The mechanical ones. That
It was
also
so
an
cool.
experiment. Yeah, so that was really hard, but it was super fun and made me braver to like do more prop stuff.
Awesome.
Those magnets blew my mind, I remember.
Unfortunately,
I
I do
literally
not.
was so shook.
Unfortunately, I do not have an answer to this question. This one from 123 Toast 123 asks, "What is
Thank
the
you,
best?
123 Toast.
What is your best tips you have invented, and why are you proud of them?
Best tips?
If there's anything
Well-
you've come up with cosplay wise that has kind of
A lot of people
percolated.
seem to like my patterning hack where you just cover up some existing clothing with masking tape and then cut it out to make a pattern.
I mean, it works. It's
Yeah.
great. Oh wait, I have the best tip. Hold on, I need to demonstrate. Okay, I need BRB. Joe, you talk.
Yo, I'm not smart.
In terms of cosplay photography editing wise, I definitely not even remotely came up with frequency separation, but I started using it in a bit of a newer way than I think a lot of people had, and it's been very useful. I had never seen anyone using frequency separation techniques with the blender brush tool before, and that's kind of how
that has changed my life.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. Like I don't know if I invented that technique by any means, but
no, it's literally in no tutorials. Confirmed.
So it's like my one thing where I'm like, I kind of feel like I maybe invented it. I don't know.
Fucking mind blowing. It's like literally when we say digital ironing, frequency separation with the blob. Wait, what's it called? Blob brush tool? No.
Blender brush tool.
Blender brush tool. I don't know any of these tools. They literally become second nature.
I've got a tutorial on how to do it on YouTube, which I just pasted.
It's literally it upped my editing. I mean, it has decreased my editing time like tenfold. It's genius. Okay, so I have a stupid hack. It's not a hack, really. It's something Paulina taught me. Because she saw it in some... I think she said she saw it in, like, a Taobao video, like, that was selling wigs. But, like, okay, so you have... Also, if anyone can guess who this is for, congrats.
I swear to God.
Okay, so usually, like, you see people, like, pinning their wigs to the head. I wonder what this is for. So usually you see people pin the wig to the head, and a lot of us have these like, shitty foam heads in which over time when you pin it, it like eventually there's no foam left for you to pin it to, so that it's hard for the wig to stay on. So a really good trick actually is to take the this is Arda, by the way, not sponsored.
Arda, also feel free to sponsor us, please.
So you know these thingies to make like your wig smaller to fit your head? So basically you take them out, not take them out, but you bring them to the front and you wrap it around the wig head.
Mm-hmm.
And it literally, like, you don't, who needs pins anymore? Literally, wig to wig head. Hold on, sorry, this is like a really awkward angle. So you literally just loop them together, the little hooks.
Mm-hmm.
I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. So see, like that, it's literally like hooked together. And now the wig literally will not come off the head. You don't need pins ever again. I was like, oh. Because, like, even when you have, like, pins and shit, like, usually if you're shaking it like this, it'll still, like, fall off eventually, especially if you have, like, a foam wig head. But if you have a fabric wig head, that's fine. But, like, that's probably the greatest hack I've learned. Mind-blowing. So you don't need pins anymore, you guys. Just use these elastic thingies and clasp it in the front of your wig head. And
doing that same thing, since I don't have a wig tripod, I straight up like tape dumbbells onto the wig head so that it doesn't.
Oh,
That's amazing.
See it.
I need a visual as a visual person.
For wig head stand, we've used my light stands before for those.
Oh my God. I guess my cosplay tip comes in the form of makeup because everybody's like, Joe, how the fuck do you do your makeup? It's insane. even right now, I'm wearing makeup. I don't look like this. You guys are funny.
Oh,
But
shut up.
so my cosplay tip, which is literally all these tips that I learned, shout out to drag queens. Like this is literally
yeah.
like tried and true how I do my makeup. So everybody's like, how do you get like what's your primer? What do you use? And I'm like, I
hate
fully
this.
use you love it.
I hate it.
What is it? It's Monostat chafing gel. It is Monostat chafing
Oh
gel.
my
It is
god.
it is
I'd
made
heard
of
of
the
that.
same. It's so good, Jen. Please try it. It is the same
No, please
exact
don't.
primer as the Smashbox. I forget what it's called.
Photo
Pour
finish.
Yes, it's the same exact thing. You literally tap, 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 go about your day. It's $6 for a tube. I swear by it. That tube will last you for years. And then from then on out, I will go and color correct with LA girls, like random colors, green for like random redness and red for dark spots. And then I will powder that down. And the whole reason why you powder it down is to really seal it in, fill in any pores, and actually by that first powdering, you'll actually get coverage that will last all day and a nice base for your makeup to sit on top of. Because then the makeup has something else to grip onto. And then you go about your day, do your foundation. But let me tell you, I have gone like Sarah once saw me the next day because I fell asleep in my makeup by accident. She's like,
Oh, I
you didn't
sure did.
You were like, you didn't put on your makeup again? And I was like, nope, I woke up like this. And she was like, what? And I was just like, yep. I recontoured myself very slightly and then I moved on.
I
She
like
was
how you do Sarah's voice.
Yeah, perfect.
You do what?
Dead on.
Oh my god, kill me!
With the boy, he's like, you do what?
What? Literally, I'm like arriving to AUS, half the room, and Joe's just in a hologram.
I don't know what's going on with your audio, but it's cutting out a little bit for me, Sarah.
It'd be like that.
Oh
yeah.
My brain is not land. It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
But I think that's a good a spot as any to wrap it up here for the night. Thank you everyone who asked questions. Appreciate it. And a huge thank you to Joe and Jin for showing up for this just craziness. And thank you all who have watched for sticking through it. So next episode, like full on episode thing, is going to be critique, and that is going to be December 11th. Now, if you look at December 11th on your calendar, you may realize that's a Wednesday. What the hell? Well, problem is, I wanted to do it that Tuesday, but Promare is going to be back in theaters, and it's finally going to be
priority.
It's finally going to be around here, so I finally have a chance to watch it, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to go see Premiere. So that's the reason why we're not doing it on a Tuesday.
If you haven't seen it yet, please go see it.
We don't have it here.
Cool, just come to the US in December for the Redux. I have tickets. I can buy you a ticket.
Wow, way to go, webcam. Thanks for blurring me.
Just Beauty Guru.
Beauty Guru.
Guru it back.
Please.
Show your Morphe brushes, Andrew. Show your Morphe
Do it,
brushes.
Andrew.
Nope. Oh, there we go. So critique is going to be on December 11th. That said, I'm trying to stream pretty much every Tuesday. So Tuesday evenings, expect things to be happening on this channel. But next full critique is going to be on the 11th. But yeah, so Jin, Joe, let me hear from you guys where people can find you and keep up with your work. Jin, let's start with you.
Me?
Yes.
Yes.
No, the other Jin in this chat.
I wish I was that cool.
I guess. My username is Jen.behindinfinity. That's it.
That's
Selling yourself.
Let's be friends on DeviantArt.
Can we get your
I'm
live journal
behind the
account
video
name?
on DeviantArt.
Live journal account name, please.
Maybe you'll catch my kitty bun.
Oh God, that's a thing I haven't thought about in a while.
Oh my god, me either. Holy
Yeah,
shit, we're old, y'all.
props to you who knows what the fuck that is. That means
Okay,
that
well.
means you're old.
What a
We're all old
dreamy.
except for Joe.
Joe,
Old.
Joe, you didn't know what it meant. You didn't know what it meant. We see your weakness.
We
You're
see
young.
you. I see you, Joe.
I wasn't paying attention. Honestly, I was disassociated.
I see you,
Sure.
What'd you say?
Nothing.
It's fine.
Was it Zanga? Live?
No.
We said pigeon carrier.
Cosplay.com?
We said pigeon carrier.
Oh yeah, no, y'all old, but you're right. I don't know that.
Joe, where can people find your work and keep up with you?
Oh baby, I should take this off. I don't want to look like a clown while I'm promoting myself.
After having it on for the past
You've been wearing it for the
hour.
entire second half.
Listen, I got very comfy. So you can find me on IG at Joe Salem. You can find me on Facebook at Joeshmoe Cosplay. And very soon you can find me on Anchor. If you don't know what Anchor is, it is a podcasting hosting website. So my podcast, which hopefully will launch by next month, but you guys get early access. There's nothing there. It's called Playing Dress Up, and pretty much eventually it's just me interviewing my friends on how they've been attending the cosplay community and how they found themselves through it. And you can find that through anchor.fm/playing a dress up. So yeah.
Awesome.
It's so pro, man.
Right?
What?
Sarah?
What am I doing?
Nothing.
You're doing enough.
Why do people invite me, honestly?
Because we
We've been
wanted
following you
access
for
to your
way
live
too
journal
long.
username.
On DeviantArt.
On your legendary wig application. That video
Literally, that thing
shook.
blows my
Oh
mind to
man,
this day.
I need to pick up my YouTube.
Hold on, wait, I need to find it so I gotta share it with the chat.
Oh god,
Sarah,
Uh,
social.
I'll find it.
I'll just tell it for you at this point. While you're looking, if you
Hey,
want to
follow me on Instagram, not Twitter.
Yeah.
Unless you really love Fire Emblem, follow me on Twitter.
it's Sorairo_Days
Fire
on
Emblem.
Instagram.
I found it in 3 seconds.
And then
That's not me.
for me, probably know already. Vontography on Facebook, Vontog on Instagram, and obviously Vontography on Twitch. Do you guys have any cons upcoming that you're planning on attending?
Dude, this video is so legendary. I'm so shook already.
I feel.
Oh my god.
When did you take off the wig? Oh my god, it's
It's
fucking wild.
insane.
Andrew, have you seen this video?
I have not.
Oh, you gotta
watch
watch it
it.
right now.
I will,
It's
I
like
will
a
watch
minute,
it. I will watch
30
it as soon as
seconds
this
long.
ends. So
Fucking no, you guys, it's fucking wild.
I can't. I wish I could
Insane.
screen
I
share
literally
this with
still
people.
can't wrap my head around it. Oh,
Upcoming
what
cons,
is
anyone?
happening?
Most of us are going to MagFest.
Mag-
Yes,
Magfest.
Magfest.
I mean,
Except
everybody
for
but Jin,
me.
but also you shouldn't get MagFest to invite Jin, so Jin could go to MagFest. That'd be insane. But I think it
Yeah, I've
could
been
happen.
curating.
Or we just set up a GoFundMe to buy flights
No.
from the Philippines so Jin can
No.
come here. Yes.
Jin just like no.
Yes. That's a great idea. I don't know what you're talking about, dude. This video blows my mind.
Yeah, it's pretty
And
impressive.
then I guess after MagFest, I feel like it'll be Katsu for me and Sarah. Andrew, I forget. Are you going to Katsu?
No.
I keep forgetting.
It's hard
You're
for
not
me to
going.
justify.
Yeah.
It's far enough away that
So
it's hard to
close.
justify me going to the same location twice and like
That's
flying out for it.
fine. Yeah, so it's just Katsu for me and Sarah, then MagFest for me, Andrew, Sarah, and then it's a quiet season up until May.
What
I'm
the hell's
going
it? Oh,
to
Fanime!
Singapore Comic Con.
Oh yeah, Jin,
Cool, I'll be
make
there.
it.
Awesome.
Yeah, on the other side of the world.
I'll be there. I'll see you then. Jin, come to Fanime.
I wanna.
Huge thank you to the audience for sticking with us through all of this and asking questions, especially for those of you who asked us questions early on for us to deep dive on Instagram. We've been trying to do this where we post Instagram stories to ask us questions that we're going to, for the first half of this critique. This isn't the critique. This is a Q&A. So, yeah, thank you to everyone. Thank you for those of you who were talking along in chat this whole time. So I know we didn't maybe pull in what you guys were saying as much as we do during your critique. I think just because it kind of would break the flow of our thoughts a little bit more, but still appreciate it. Still watching out for things. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. If you've been enjoying the stream, please consider donating or subscribing. Every little bit helps, and we greatly appreciate it. It helps us keep doing what we're doing here and helps us be able to pay for the emotes that we just added to the channel. That said, if you do not have the financial means to donate or subscribe right now, totally understand that. That said, there is a way that you can help, and it's by sharing. We all know how terrible social media reach is these days, so just tell a friend, or tell them in person. Link them to it personally instead of just throwing it out into the ether, because chances are that's not going to have a lot of success, especially for critiques. Just tell your friend, hey, submit, hey, watch this. That would go a long way, and we'd love you for it. Final thing there is, if you have Twitch Prime, it means you have Amazon, or if you have Amazon Prime, that means you have Twitch Prime, which means you have one free sub per month to use on whichever streamer that you want on Twitch. And we'd love it if it were here, but please just use it. Otherwise, that money is just disappearing and it's going to waste. So if you have Amazon Prime, just please use your free subscription. Set it up. Just do it. With that, thank you, Jin. Thank you, Joe, for coming on. It was a pleasure having you guys. It was a ton of fun.
for having us.
Chaos.
Thank you, Sarah, for always doing this with me. It's a blast.
Yay.
Next stream will probably be photo editing stream, which will be this next Tuesday. But next full-on stream will be a critique stream. That will be December 11th. That's a Wednesday. And with that, it's time to wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you for those who are watching it in post. It's been hopefully enjoyable to watch there, too. And yeah, think about what you put out in the world. Make it a better place. Night, everyone.
What a
Bye.
treat.